Hello everyone and welcome into our latest live video. It's Sunday. Today it is March the 29th, 2026. Of course, I'm Carey Holzman, and thank you guys for tuning in and joining us here, especially those joining us in our live chat room so we can talk back and forth to one another. And let me start out by, first of all, saying thank you to our friends at VIP-URCDKEys. That's the place where I buy the license keys for my clients and for my business. And I need to make sure I'm buying legitimate and legal license keys. Some people are a little confused on what links to use. That's why you always want to go to my latest video, as we do from time to time update those links. And I'm going to show you how to do that right now. We just cut away to an earlier video from earlier this month. If you look at any video I've done live and you look at the, go down below the video, and you'll notice that first box there tells you a little bit about the video. Hit the More button, and that's where the video description and video notes are located. That's true on every video you've ever watched on YouTube, by the way. And if you look closely, there's links for Windows 11, Windows 10, Office. There's also games and stuff on there. My understanding is the coupon code will work for anything they sell there. When we click on the link to, let's say, buy, Windows 11 Pro here, hit the Buy Now button, and you need to sign in. If you don't have an account, just make one for free. They've got to be able to send the receipt somewhere and send the product download link and product key to somewhere. And email's the only safe, secure way to do that. Now, that's a good price, but if you want to save even more money, use the coupon code Carey and then hit apply, and you'll see that price dropped by 25%. And then hit the Submit Order button. And you've got lots of different ways you can pay for this safely and securely. The first is my choice. That's PayPal, including a lot of the major cards. Then there's Visa, MasterCard, Google Pay, Mint, and then hit the Pay Now button and follow your on-screen instructions. You'll get an email that tells you where to download the product you purchased. It is an official download link. It is not something coming off of their own personal servers. That would be sketchy, and I can't run my business that way, not for very long. So you may already have your own download, right? Because I've shown you how to download Windows 10 or 11 from Microsoft directly. So if you've already got it, you can skip that step, do your install. Once your install is completed, then go ahead and tell it you want to tell Windows. Just type in the word activate down in your search window, and it'll ask you for the product key. That'll be in the email you were sent, and then copy and paste it or type it in, whatever floats your boat. And that motherboard, as far as Windows is concerned, is activated forever until the board is replaced. So you'll never need to use the product code again. This is not true of Office products, but in Windows products, it's one code, one computer, that's it, you're done. If you ever need to reinstall again, the code automatically gets reapplied right back to your computer during your first trip to Windows Update on a clean install from that point into the indefinite future. We've demonstrated it here many times. No Microsoft account is required. If you have any questions or concerns, they have 6 months of support there that comes after the sale, which most, if not any other key sellers even offer. And on top of that, I back it up personally. So if you have any problems or questions, you email me directly. And I can assure you, if we were getting a lot of people who were uncertain or having trouble, and the folks over at VIP-URCDKEYs were not able to help, we would not be here promoting them. We do not make a commission on this, so if you buy it or you don't buy it, this is not a hard sell, it's a hard save. If you want to risk your money buying product keys elsewhere, I'm not here to tell you not to. It's just not an option for my business for obvious reasons. And there you go. So let me say hello to everybody. Speaking of folks that support us here, all my friends in green, of course, Mark Gaines and our friend Buster for their Amazon gift cards prior to the show starting today. Thank you guys so much. And our friends in green who make these videos even possible. Isaiah says hello, as does our friend Rick Lakes, David Graham, and Green Dragon. I see Bike Man and Eddie Casanova. There's Mara, our channel administrator, hanging out with us. Margain said his Project Zero build has been running all day today with no crashes so far. He reported he was having some issues, so you know, you never quite know with issues like that if they're solved or not, other than giving it time. So we appreciate the update and hope things continue to run solid and don't change for you. Ron Barnish says hello, along with David Herzog and Alan, sorry, Li2X, Ly2C. Man, I wish people would use regular names. R2D2 and C3PO say hello. All right, all good. Thank you for hanging out with us. I'm just teasing you. Jonathan Fells says hello, along with John Rogers and John Williams and John Lewis. There's a lot of Johns. We have no shortage of Johns here. There's also Mortant saying hello. Andy W6AD joins us, along with Michael Lavelle. And Colonel Smitherman says hello. Dustin Fuller says hello. Patrick Manny and Paul Vircher saying hello here in our live chat room, joining us from all over the world, where you have friends waiting to meet you, no matter where you live, no matter your age, your gender, your religion. It doesn't matter. People just like to talk with other and be friends with people that they like. Are you likable? Come on in and say hello. Some people are saying hello in the comment section. There's a comment section which is static, it never changes, and there's a live chat section which is constantly moving. If you are watching this video live, you should be able to see the live chat happening. If you're not seeing it, you're probably not watching it live. All right, so just so people know the difference, and of course you're always welcome to say hello in the comments if you want to. It's just, we have a live audience right now. When you want to say hello when the live audience is gone and the video and the studio is closed because you're watching a recording of an earlier live broadcast, the train's left the station. It's a little bit late. However, you know, people often do say hello back and such over time, but it's much more immediate and instantaneous during a live video. That's one certain way you can tell. So if you're still figuring that out, keep working on it. You'll get there. We'd love to see you in here. We love to have more like-minded and kind individuals in our community. There's always room for more. It's probably the single most supportive and kind community that exists online today. And I've worked very, very hard to encourage and to encourage people to be kind to each other, and it pays off on its own. And then on top of that, if somebody comes in and tries to poison the well, we kick them out pretty quick. So, you know, it's obviously in everybody's best interest, if you want to participate. If you're going to be a jerk, you're not going to be here very long, and it kind of defeats the whole point of ever even stopping in to begin with. But if you want to be nice, you'll probably find that it feels really good, and you're going to want to come back again and again and again. Why do you think all these people are here? Where are you? So we'd love to see you in there. Now, today I want to talk about, I see Jim Kinney and Stephen Detroit joined us. I hope I got everybody. Today what I want to talk about is what you're not really hearing from most content creators. And the reason you don't hear from them is they're not running a business and they're not dealing with the things that customers call about. So if I'm sitting here as a PC home enthusiast and I'm reading things online and I'm living vicariously, but I don't leave my house and I'm not held accountable for what I say or what I do, there is a pretty big disconnect in my mind, in my experience, between what people think is going on and what people are actually doing. So a lot of times I see content creators, often I hope with the best of intention, that are completely disconnected from what's actually happening outside, like what's really happening. And one of the benefits that I have as a professional technician is I get phone calls from clients and I can see trends. I can see if a Windows update is really bad. I saw a content creator recently post how Microsoft changed all their default settings in Windows because of an update, which never happened. Likely no matter how much that content creator believes they know what they're talking about, they pushed a button that they don't realize they pushed, where Microsoft asked for permission to reset the computer back to defaults. Windows updates don't do that. The reason I know that is my phone would be ringing off the hook. So this is one of the disconnects that you're going to get from other entertainment enthusiast tech channels, which is simply something happened to them and they assumed it wasn't anything they did because they know way too much. They're too smart to make a mistake. So clearly I'm going to make a video about my outrage about how Microsoft changed something because I'm too obtuse to recognize the possibility that I might have accidentally done that. And you'll know that because they won't mention a particular knowledge base article number that caused this problem, and they don't demonstrate it. They just, you got to take my word for it, Microsoft reset my settings. No, I don't. That just tells me you have no idea what's really going on because you can't explain it. You can't tell me, you can't repeat it. You can't tell me the knowledge base article, and you can't demonstrate it. So there's a lot of red flags you as viewers can look out for if you want to sift away from facts and delusion. And again, I don't think the content creators mean anything by it. I think their intention is positive. But it would be like if you were wanting to feed somebody who was starving and you don't know anything about nutrition and you don't know anything about the person and their health background. So you feed them something with peanuts in it and then they go into an anaphylactic shock. While your intention was good, your ignorance and lack of understanding anybody outside of yourself just caused harm to somebody when that wasn't your intention. And I see this over and over and over again here on YouTube with regards to tech channels. So I'm sifting through tech subject matter, trying to find responsible professionals who come to the table with actual evidence and experience beyond their own. It's got to be somebody else's computer they're fixing, somebody else's computer they're held accountable for. And ideally, they've got something to lose, like a job or an income. And when I find those people on YouTube, generally speaking, I highly recommend them. Even if I don't agree with their techniques, I respect the fact that if their techniques weren't working, they'd be out of business or out of a job. Home enthusiasts can do whatever you want. There's nobody there to police you. You can make bizarre claims. You can lie. You can cheat. You can steal. Okay? I'm not saying they are doing that, but they can with zero consequences. It's just, that's fine. It's fine for them. It's not okay for me. So if you want honesty and transparency and you want to be able to identify and verify the source of information on your own for anything I tell you, I encourage you to do that, even for me. And the reason I bring this up is there's a lot of people who think they can improve Windows through third-party software or shutting down services or debloating. And all these people are really doing is causing themselves a crash in a future Windows update that won't work. And then they blame Microsoft for that. If you want a reliable computer, you need to leave it alone and just use the tools built into Microsoft. If you need a third-party piece of software, then you need to have it. If you need Adobe Reader, or if you need AutoCAD, or you need QuickBooks, or you need Microsoft, well, Microsoft Office is fine, it's Microsoft. But the minute you go to outside of Microsoft for any software, I don't care if it's free or paid, you are jeopardizing the integrity of that computer because you're trusting that the developer followed the standards that Microsoft sets forth, but Microsoft does not enforce in the way that Apple or Android do. What that means is that by putting the third-party software on your computer, that could be the cause why your computer's crashing or updates are failing, not because of anything Microsoft did. And the way you minimize that in business is you stay away from all the nonsense, wallpaper changers, all the silliness. I want my start menu to look different. You may be paying a price for that in frustration and reinstalls and weird, bizarre crashes and system performance, not to mention being spied on. And my best advice is you should absolutely continue to download all that free software and all those utilities. Knock yourself out. And when you get sick and tired of your computer crashing or behaving oddly when no one else seems to be doing it other than people you know who happen to be using the same little add-ins and plugins and software, at some point that light's going to click on and you're going to say, this is what Carey was talking about. Now, the crashes may not bother you. You may enjoy the challenge of fixing the crash. You might think, I'm improving the speed of my computer by stripping all of these tools away from Windows that Windows doesn't need, when in fact you'll later learn Windows does need them, but that would go against you believing you made it better, so then you will blame Microsoft when something happens. The reason why I very rarely have computer crashing happen for me or any of my dozens of customers, dozens in my MSP business and hundreds if not thousands on the consumer side, is because we keep it as stock as possible. When we deliver the computer, we advise the customer, look, you're free to put whatever you want on it. But understand that every third-party piece of software is not written the same or to the same standard or values. Some are better than others, and that's on you. And the only way around that is to sort of lock it in the way Apple does. And that means you may not even be able to download that software anymore, as many people with Apple can attest to. And Mara says, we've got an email. Right on. Let me check the email here real quick. Oh, Paul Vircher sends us an Amazon. Wait a minute. Where did it go? It's not here anymore. I guess I'm going to have to wait a second for my email to update. There it goes. Why that was delayed like that. Paul Vircher contributes $10 via Amazon gift card. Thank you, Paul. And again, same to our friend Mark Gaines and our friend Buster. Thank you for supporting the channel. So anyway, what I'm trying to get to is I'm not telling you not to put any third-party software on. That's ridiculous. What I am saying is to put on what you absolutely think is worth the risk. And, ignorance is bliss. So many times people have gotten themselves in trouble with browser add-ons and ad blockers and firewalls, or not firewalls, but VPNs. System utilities are particularly nasty on Windows. And the problem is that when you're an average user and you run it and nothing seems to have broken, oftentimes the average user has no idea 6 months from now when the system crashes that it is potentially and directly, oftentimes, related to one of those third-party silly things that you downloaded that you absolutely did not need to have. Now, if you're okay with it, I'm okay with it. But if you're my customer and you do that, I'm going to charge you for that repair. That's not a warranty. That's just you not being up to speed with understanding the full consequences that may occur 6 to 12 months after you've done it and forgotten long forgotten about it. So that's not my fault. I'm not going to go fix that for free. And if you don't mind fixing it yourself, have at it. But if you just want a computer that always works, stay away from third-party software unless it's worth the risk. You have to determine. I can't tell you if it's worth the risk to you. If it's really important for you to have moving wallpaper or RGB control software from a shareware site, you go for it, But set your expectations accordingly, that because you've done that, you are potentially going to have problems nobody else is going to have. And it's not a Microsoft problem. Let's be clear. People are very quick to blame Microsoft. That is the third-party software writing code any damn well way they please. And their marketing and the forums and other people are manipulating you. And if you like to be manipulated, have at it. But in some cases, ignorance is bliss. So in my business, clients are not permitted to just install anything on their computers or the network or to make any settings changes other than you can change your wallpaper. There are certain settings within Windows they're allowed to change, just preferences, the colors, the fonts, the screen size, their screensaver, stuff like that. They cannot download any software on those computers. They belong to the company, and it's not permitted, and that is a pretty serious offense, because you could be jeopardizing the productivity and even the future of that company if it causes financial damage to the point where the company cannot recover and goes out of business, and everybody loses their jobs because of what you did, even though that you didn't know. Okay, so if you want to learn on your own computer. And when it crashes, my question to you is, what have you put on that's third party? Now, some third-party software is absolutely required. And in that, I'm referring to drivers. If you have a video card, a sound card, if you have a network Wi-Fi card or a wired, if you have an Intel or an AMD chipset, you need these drivers in order for your computer to run at optimal performance, to have optimal security, and to have the best reliability. Sometimes the drivers themselves can cause problems, but usually that's not something you find out 6 months later if you're running the latest driver. Like if there's a problem with the latest driver, it's usually discovered rather quickly, within about a week or so, I'd say on average, and it's updated or replaced. If you never update your driver, then what happens is, as Microsoft continues to evolve Windows, that a Windows update can change and break the old driver. So a computer's not a stone. You don't carve into it and it stays that way forever. Every second Tuesday of the month, Microsoft is issuing updates. And those third-party manufacturers have no control over what those updates are changing. But those updates are 100% on board with the way Windows 11 or Windows 10 operates without breaking it. What breaks it most of the time is the third-party software, often very old and unupdated, or old drivers that are not written specifically the way Microsoft advises. Because they, much like the end user, a lot of companies, they want to get away with something as cheap as possible, cut every corner. Hey, it works, right? And then an update comes out and the update fails. And more often than not, that update is failing because of third-party software and drivers. That's the most common reason when you hear about Windows updates failing. That's the most common reason. So if you want to avoid that, change as little as possible, and you'll have probably a more reliable computer than anybody else you know. There's a reason why I'm not at a client's office right now fixing a Windows update, nor have I been at any of my clients' offices in over 2 years to fix a Windows update. Now, sometimes Windows Update introduces new security features that requires a remote visit for me to log in remotely and make some adjustments, like, for example, browsing the network without a password, just using a guest account. That was changed in a Windows Update. And it's a quick setting to switch it back. It's within the operation of Windows. We're not installing any third-party software to do it. We're just flipping the switch. It's an on-off switch. Windows, adding the mark of the web to downloaded files so you can't preview them because the preview could be dangerous, is a new security addition as well. That, once again, just a remote visit, and we just turn the mark of the web off, or we can disable it entirely following Microsoft's guidance, and we don't put any third-party software on it to override it. That's it. That's the worst of Windows updates we have seen in a couple of years. So when you're reading online about people having problems with Windows Update, most of them, not all of them, most of them have some old outdated software or outdated drivers, and they're just too oblivious and obtuse to see what's actually causing the problem. And that's where we get from correlation and causation. Just because a Windows update caused your, after a Windows update, your computer crashed and therefore the Windows update is bad, that's correlating to potentially completely unrelated things. And there's causation. So the cause is actually forensically being able to repeat the problem and identify where the flaw is. Where is the issue? If you cannot specifically identify why this knowledge base article, this KB update, and this specific version of Windows 11 Home or Pro are crashing, even though you can make it happen again and again, let's assume you could, you still need to tell me what part of it is causing that, because nobody else worldwide is having that problem except for a small, very vocal group of people who likely have one thing in common, and that is they think they can outsmart the operating system. Now, in my opinion, there is the world of Linux where that kind of behavior is encouraged, and there's also very little help for it. So, you know, one kind of comes with the other. Finding help for Linux, because of so many different variations and because of the sort of toxic attitude that permeates that community online, finding people that are genuinely kind and helpful is a little bit more challenging than it is in the Windows world. But, you know, their thing is, hey, if you weren't willing to take it on, you shouldn't have taken it on. That's a very common, you know, Linux response. If you don't even know this, you probably shouldn't be running Linux. I don't think that's very helpful to tell people that, but you'll see if you decide to go down that road. If you want to be self-reliant and do everything yourself, have at it. There's the world of Linux just waiting for you. But if you love the convenience of Windows and how well everything works, trying to make it work better is silliness. You should apply for a job at Microsoft. If you are sincerely passionate about how you can make Windows better, Microsoft is looking for you. They want you to apply. But if you're not willing to apply, you know, that says a lot. From my perspective, it's like somebody sitting on the couch telling the coach how to coach the team when they've never coached a team in their life. And if you actually gave them the opportunity to be the coach so everybody could watch them make their mistakes, they'd probably find an excuse for why they can't do that. So there's a part of this imaginary power and control people like to have. Not all people, but you know who I'm talking about. There's just people online. And even though they have no power and no control in reality, that shouting out and being bold and loud makes them feel like they're the boss, when in reality they're not doing anything. They're just barking like a dog at 3 a.m. Ruff, 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 ruff. They're saying nothing. And it's important, as we use the internet, that we identify the source of information. Are we hearing somebody call for help? Or is that just a dog barking? Okay. Now, all of that has been prefaced because one downside of having an AMD processor are the AMD Chipset drivers, and the fact that AMD doesn't really do much to try and keep you up, make you aware, to keep you up to date. So I see computers that come in that are years old, they've never been updated. You know, of course, they've never been dusted, they've never been updated other than Windows updates. People think because I've got automatic updates turned on, it's updating everything. And in most cases, it's updating nothing but Windows, nothing else. Just Windows. It's not updating Office, it's not updating Quicken, it's not updating, I don't know, somebody want to name a piece of software you use? If you want that, it exists in the form of a phone. You can get yourself an Android, you can get yourself an iPhone, and you won't have any of these problems. The phone has all that built into it. Now, some might say, well, isn't it weird that a phone works better than Windows? Depends how you use it. A phone is a device used to consume things that other people have created, for the most part. A computer, a PC, is used primarily the choice of creators, people that are making something. I use a PC, I make videos. We have the optimizer that we created. Have any of you written a piece of software and sold it? If not, if you're not a creator, if you're not maybe using the camera on your phone to make content, then the phone is just something you're using, you're consuming. You're not doing the cooking, you're not acquiring the food, you don't need the pots and pans in the kitchen. So to have a computer for those people is kind of a waste, unless they just want the bigger screen. And quite honestly, with modern day smartphones, you can attach them They Chromecast another mirror casting right onto the big screen TV and have it as big as you want it. But be that as it may, I found a computer that I've had sitting here for some time. And it's a computer I want to hold on to. It's kind of special to me. I just think it looks cool. I never use it, but I just like how it looks. It's a nice showpiece. And it's been sitting for some time. And in this time, it's not been powered on, which means it's not gotten Windows updates. It's not gotten any driver updates. And some of you might say, well, hold on a minute there, Carey. I know about AMD drivers, and I installed mine, and it auto-updates. How sure are you of that? Well, I checked the box. I can go in there and look, and the box is checked to apply updates automatically. So you just believe that? You don't bother to actually check with your own eyes and see if it's actually been auto-updating? Ignorance is bliss. Let's just assume it is and go on our way. That doesn't work in the business world. That doesn't work in the real world where things like this matter. So anytime you set anything to automation, you always have to, at least periodically, audit and make sure it is in fact still working. It is doing what it's supposed to do. Otherwise, how would you know? You're just assuming everything's great. I, on the other hand, assume things are not great until I verify it with my own eyes. I do not trust computers. They have let me down since the very first time I ever used one, and they let me down at the same exact ratio today. They are not to be trusted by giving them a task and walking away. Now, you can give them a task and walk away for a period of time. How often should you check it is up to you. For my clients, the systems get checked either monthly or bi-monthly, and at the worst, every 3 months. And what does that mean? What are we checking? We're checking Windows updates are installed and current. We're checking the router is updated to the latest firmware. If they have a NAS, we're checking to make sure it's updated. Is their Chrome or their Firefox or whatever browser they're using the latest version? Any piece of software they use, it may be very different from any piece of software you use, but literally any piece of software that is not made by Microsoft, we start the software and we check for updates. Some software does a better job at auto updates than others, but then how would you know? So if you start a program on your computer, whatever that program is, if it's not from Microsoft, you should check it for updates. If you run Microsoft Office, that typically doesn't auto update either. So you have to go to File and then Account and then Update Now. You just might be surprised how many updates have just been sitting there because you never approved them and you were under the false assumption without verification that you were getting those updates. This is a big eye-opener for people who trust too much. And when it comes to the AMD chipset drivers, there's no worse offender currently today where you've turned on auto updates and it's just not doing anything. And so a lot of AMD users are under the impression their Adrenalin software is being updated when it isn't. And even when it is, they're not getting the latest chipset driver and it's not telling you. You have to go and inspect it. So to give you an example, the condition of this computer being off for the last, I don't know, probably been a year or more, is not unlike the condition of many people's computers that are watching this video who don't know any better. That means it's going to be missing updates for everything because it's been off. But that's no different than missing updates for everything, except maybe for Windows, because you never bothered to check. So there's no harm in checking. So if you go through all this and you say, well, Carey, shows you, I just checked everything and it's up to date. No, that's not showing me. That's showing you that you can now confirm as of the day you've checked it that everything is current. And now you need to do that again. Some point in the future, and again, whether you do it monthly, bi-monthly, quarterly, biannually, or annually, that's up to you. All right, so the computer we've got here, you'll probably remember this from a couple years back, this Cyberpunk computer I just think it's cool looking. And this is an AMD system, and I'm going to go through the installation and why it's so confusing and why most people are not getting their AMD chipset drivers, how you can tell if you have the latest version and what you can do about it. Same goes true with NVIDIA drivers. If you have an NVIDIA card and you think you're getting your drivers automatically, you're not. Not likely. NVIDIA needs you to sort of approve it and kick it off, including the NVIDIA app. You might go to start your app if you haven't started it in a long time, and the first thing it does, it says it's updating. It was just waiting for you, and you did not know, and it did not tell you. So NVIDIA does this too. Now, if you're playing games all the time and you always have that latest driver so the game will play, that's unique for gamers. But even if you are a gamer and you haven't played in a while, then you probably haven't checked your drivers. So let's start by just plugging this in and firing it up, and we'll see what condition it's in. Now, the beautiful thing about not having any third-party software on this is I won't have to worry about then checking all of those. So if you're not willing to deal with that hassle for what that third-party software is, then don't put it on. Every piece of software needs to be updated. And every piece of software that you add to this machine voluntarily that it didn't come with is potentially a point of failure, a point of security risk, and will require the same maintenance. And if you're not willing, if you're like, geez, I just wanted some cool wallpaper, take it off of there. Or if you're like, yeah, having cool wallpaper is worth it, it's your decision. I want you to think about, what if you were a computer technician and you worked in a corporation where the employees were allowed to do that to their computers, and there's over 1,500 computers and a pretty understaffed IT department, and you're super busy and you can't even leave work on time because you're undoing the damage the employees caused. Day after day, you put it back, they screw it up. You have to go back to the same desk, to the same employee again and again and again, and you're getting angry having to repeat the same work and the employee won't listen to you. At what point do you quit? But if you do that to yourself, well, I don't know how you can quit you, but you could certainly change your behavior if you don't like it. All right, let me grab a power cable, and let's grab our HDMI output from here over to the streamer. And then I need an internet connection so I can get those downloads. So let me find an internet cable, Ethernet cable. Here we go. Right down here. And I need a keyboard and a mouse, don't I? And then I think we're ready to power it up. So let's grab a keyboard and mouse from over here. And I'll walk you through this. You could consider this to be a complete system tune-up. You'll find I don't use any third-party software to do this. It always works. It works the same for everyone. There's never any negative consequences of doing what I'm about to show you. It is 100% safe, download free apart from any drivers or software updates. You don't have to be a technician. It's just like dusting. You know what I mean? Like, some people don't dust. And if that's the case, you know, they're just going to be a little more sloppy. And if that's how they want to live, that's their choice. But again, if you're in an office building working in IT and you're having issues with dust in the building to the point that it's causing computer fans to fail and employees to have health problems, it's very different from what you do at home and how you live. So I'm just trying to show you the professional side of things because there's too much enthusiast stuff on YouTube by comparison. There's no counterpoint to it other than folks like myself, few and far between, that will share with you a lot of things that enthusiasts do would get them fired in a real life job in an IT department if they did those same things. And when I first got a job in IT, I thought a lot of this stuff was stupid. But after I started seeing what employees did, including other IT workers, it all started to make sense. And then I realized this would make sense at home. If it's good for the business, it's good for the home user. But what the home user thinks is good will often put a business out of business if they follow the same devil may care attitude or selfishness. So you take this information for whatever it's worth to you. If you're having a solid, good working computer, you rarely have any problems. It sounds like you don't really need much in the way of any improvement of how to use it better. But if you are constantly suffering problems, my customers haven't really had any problems with their computers for about 2 years, I'd say. About 2 years. Very rarely does anything come in for repair anymore. Very rarely do I get support calls for things not working or crashing. So why is that my normal, and then potentially you, the viewer, have a very different experience? Well, I'm telling you the secret sauce. You just maybe don't want to hear it, but this is 100% verifiable fact. And if you're doubtful, try it and see your results. All right, there's nothing in it for me. If I solve all your computer problems for free on a video, or I offer to solve them for free and you walk away from it, it's the same to me, okay? So let me turn this on. Let's get it booted up. Oh, this button over here. So you see we got a really cool cyberpunk computer there. And this is an AMD-based system. And on these AMD-based systems, these drivers come out rather frequently. And they oftentimes make a very big performance and reliability difference. But ignorance is bliss. If you don't know what's missing and you don't know it could be running faster, there's nothing for you to fix, right? So that's why we refer to this as preventive maintenance. Let's jump over to this input over here, input number 3, and hopefully we'll get a video signal in just a moment. There we go. And just to prove to you that I'm not exaggerating or making things up, you know, this video is live, unscripted, and unedited because I want to show you in real time. And I don't want you to doubt, oh, maybe he changed something in editing, or maybe, you know, he planned for this. I plan for this the same way I plan for any computer maintenance. I know it's past due for maintenance. I don't know exactly how long, but I can show you. When we go to Windows Update, it's going to tell us how long it's been. Your computer tells you. Have you noticed? So we're going to wait here for the desktop, and I'm going to give it a minute because, you know, this thing hasn't been turned on in a long time. And one of the things you'll probably find is when we're done tuning this up, the length of time it's taking to get us to the desktop should be noticeably quicker. I'm actually surprised it's taking this long. However, the computer's not crashing, right? And you might say, well, it's an old computer, so it runs slower. Sometimes these older computers, they become very, very quick once you take the time to tune them. Once you take the time to do a little preventive maintenance, to clear out the temp files, to update the drivers, to update Windows and update all the applications, all of a sudden it's like you have a brand new computer again. So we'll see if that's the case live in this demonstration. It is a little worrisome it is taking this long. This computer's not that old. So we're just gonna give it whatever it needs here. And I'm gonna put camera 1 back up and just put myself in a corner. And we're gonna let it do whatever the heck it's doing. I have no idea, but we'll let it, it could be doing some kind of an update that was like really critical, and it's downloading and applying it. So there, it finally got us to the desktop. So if we go, all right, let me turn camera 1 off again. Let's go screen. Let me change this. Oh, wrong mouse, Carey. Let me change this wallpaper. Because it's driving me crazy. I just want the regular Windows 11 theme. It also looks like we're in 4K. Let me see. Display settings. Are we in 4K? Yeah, let's drop that to 1080. Nice. Now check this out. If we, first of all, it says checking for updates. It started checking before I had a chance to see. It would say by the check for updates the last time we checked it. There'd be a date. Speaking of the date, because it's been powered off, the date and time can be wrong if the battery has gone. But we're still looking at the right date and time. Everything looks correct here. Because that can throw off you getting updates as well, something that simple. There's nothing indicating to update the AMD Adrenalin. Nothing. I mean, you're telling me that this is there's not been any new versions of this? And if this was NVIDIA, it'd be doing the same thing. But we don't want to do multiple updates from different things at the same time. We are getting an AMD driver update here, but that's different from what we're getting here. So it'll be interesting to see if this driver update is incompatible with this AMD Adrenalin. And now when we start AMD Adrenalin, after we restart, it says it doesn't work anymore. That's also what happens. So it's an easy fix, but let me do this. Let's turn on this option here. And let's go to advanced options. I like all that turned on. Look at here, 3 optional updates. We're gonna grab all 3. I'm not sitting here reading about them. I'm not studying for a test. If those updates are there, they're there for a reason. Somebody got paid to take the time to write those. Someone else got paid to test and evaluate them. Somebody else got paid to put them in the catalog. Somebody else got paid. I mean, this is costing companies that do this, like Microsoft, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then for them to just give it away to you, and then for you to say, oh, stay away from that, is crazy. Absolutely crazy. Anyway, so under, let's see, advanced options again, under delivery optimization, I turn this feature off to allow downloads from other devices because we're not in a corporate environment. And I just find it slows us down, at least in my experience. And it doesn't hurt anything. So even if you follow all of these steps, everything I show you in this video, everybody watching can follow with, you know, the difference being whether or not you have an AMD or an Intel machine, or whether you have an AMD graphics card or an NVIDIA or Intel graphics card. I think you don't need me to talk to you like you're 3 years old, right? So you should already know what's implied here. And what you'll find is all of this was free. It was always available to you. You've just been unaware of it, some of you. And that once you apply this, at the very worst, you'll notice no difference. And at the very best, it's almost like you've got a brand new computer, or in some cases, the computer runs better than even when it was new. With third-party software, the worst that can happen is 6 months from now, you have a Windows update that doesn't work or a system that crashes. So if you have to have the third-party software, you don't have a choice. But if you're just playing around and you don't really need it, and you don't want to deal with that potential, and you don't want one more piece of software to maintain, very easy to solve that by getting rid of it. Live without it like the rest of us. If you're not willing to live without it, then deal with the problems that the rest of us don't have. Sooner or later, give it time. I guarantee you, it's just a matter of time. Now, some software does auto-update better than other software. Most software does not auto-update well. So we're going to go ahead and let this install. And, you know, let me check the specs on this computer because I'm curious what version of Windows we've got before we update. That should give you an idea of how long that this has been sitting. So let me go back over here. Let's go back full screen. And we'll right-click on the Start menu. And we'll go to System. So this is a Ryzen 7 7840HS with the built-in 780M graphics. It's Windows 2.4H2, and we're on build 26100.3775. That's pretty old. We could Google that if we want to know approximately how long that's been. When was Windows 11 26100.3775? Yeah, 26100. So this says we installed it almost a year ago, about 11 months ago, and a little bit more than that. So let's see. Yeah, that's pretty accurate. April of 25. So this has not been updated in 11 months, just for a point of reference. And I mention it because a lot of people never update their computers, or as I mentioned, they seem to believe that there's a magical update monster that lives in their machine that just magically updates everything for them. And if you want to believe it, I mean, don't let me stop you, but you really should check. If you want what's best for you, for your security, your performance, and your reliability, you will from time to time follow up and make sure that that monster's doing his job, because in most cases, you'll find he doesn't. So this can take a while because of so many missing updates we have to check. And the more software we put on here that's third party, like Google Chrome, it does a pretty good job of updating itself eventually, but you can get the update right away, right now. Click on Help on Google Chrome and About. I encourage you to do that right now where you're watching this video. See if you're surprised with the results. You might not be, but at least you'll know instead of assume that you know. There's two very different things. Once we get these updates, the next thing I want to focus on is going to be down here, this AMD Adrenalin software. And I'm going to show you where it's flawed and what to watch out for. So we're going to come back to this here in just a moment. But first, let me get over to the chat room. Aura says you probably need 25H2. Yeah, and by going through these Windows updates, it should be offered to us automatically. But how would you know if you had 25H2? See what I'm saying? Like you were just made aware of something that you were not aware of. And if you want to keep your eyes closed and you want to walk through the world completely blind so you don't see anything that scares you or get any information that stresses you out, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy would be a fun book for you to read because it talks about the don't panic glasses that turn black and prevent you from seeing harm, danger, or anything that might cause you panic. If that's how you want to go through life, is you just close your eyes and you think that's having some difference in reality, you know what? That's your choice. I find the quickest way to happiness and the quickest way to resolve fear is education and experience. Not somebody else's, yours. It's its own reward. So if you don't want the reward, don't put in any effort. Some people would rather just sit on the couch and do nothing and then complain about how unfair life is. That's a choice. Probably not going to hear me advise you to do that here. And you're probably going to hear me sort of look down and disrespect that kind of an attitude. But that's my right. I want to encourage you to be responsible for what affects you. You don't need to pay somebody to do this for you. Everything I'm showing you is freely available. Whether or not you exert the minor amount of effort to move your mouse and pay attention, I have no control over that, and I don't profit from it, and I don't lose any money. I'm just offering a helping hand. You can swat it away if you want to. Some people hear opportunity knocking, and their response is to complain about the noise. So this video isn't for everyone. This is for people who want to get back control of their computer, know what's going on, accept responsibility, and have decided that I'm done dealing with all these weird problems. Carey keeps talking about how he doesn't have any problems. I don't see how it's possible when I have so many problems. Well, if you listen to me and give it some time, you'll be right there going, ever since I followed your advice, all my problems went away. I can practically guarantee it because of the sheer hundreds and thousands of computers I work on as a professional and the before and after results and the amount of time that's passed. But you need to come to that conclusion. You don't need to believe me. You need to have your own experience. And when you have your own experience where you can prove otherwise, then I'm interested. But until that day happens, ignorance is bliss, man. I don't know what to tell you. I got a business to run. I don't have any choice in this matter. If something is causing me a loss of time or money or potentially upsetting my clients, I'm without a job. I have no income. I have no way to pay my bills. What about you? So if I sound real serious about it, it's like, maybe it's because you're not, if you cook yourself a dinner, let me put it this way, and you burn it, or you're using some expired food, you don't care. You're welcome to do that. If you are preparing dinner for the President of the United States, whoever that may be at any time, and the President gets sick, oh man, you probably won't have a job as a chef anymore. It's very different when a customer is paying you to do a job than what you do at home by yourself. So the enthusiast videos are all people sitting at home. They want to sit there and talk with all this confidence, when in reality, the only person they have to answer to is themselves. And you know, if you have yourself as a boss, it's probably one of the best bosses you ever had in your life. But in my case, well, I am my own boss of my business. At the end of the day, the customers are the boss. The customers dictate the work. The customers write me my check. So I don't just have one boss. Every customer is my boss. And because I have so many bosses, if a customer is being a little too bossy or unreasonable, I can walk away and still have my job. That's the beauty of being self-employed. But I don't dictate to the customers. I've never fired a customer. I'll just keep raising the rate to, you know, depending on how difficult they are and how demanding and intolerant they are. The rate keeps going up. Everything's got a price. I'll tolerate that for a higher price. And somebody who's easy to work with, and they're more respectful and appreciate my knowledge, they're going to pay less. And the one who's pissed off, who says, oh, you're charging me too much, I'm going to go somewhere else, oh darn. But I don't fire clients. I don't believe in it. And of course, when you're working in a corporate environment and you have leadership, some portion of it you don't like, too bad. I guess you could take it to HR, but I don't know. I don't know that HR really does anything other than document it, and you're probably better off just sucking it up or finding another job. While we're waiting for the updates, let me just take a quick look in the chat and see what I've been missing. Sean Skinner says hello, as does Andrew and Elijah Dickens. Luke Greenia joins us. Shamim Kajviras from Sweden, now a member for 34 months. Thank you, Shamim. I just want to say I'm happy to be a member for another month. I got to get caught up with the missing live videos. Always missing some live videos. But happy to learn, always something new from your live. And hugs. Thank you, Shamim. That's the beauty of these videos. You can go back and watch them at your convenience, and you can watch them over and over. If I go through things a bit quickly, you can replay them, you can slow them down, you can speed them up. And I love that. Then I'm not constantly having to repeat myself. You can rewind the video and have me repeat myself as many times as you want. Let's see. Thomas Mac T says hello. There's Green Dragon and W.E. Holmes saying hello here in our chat, along with Scott Messerschmidt. Andy W6AD, Tim Francis and Bikeman, and Chris Fox and Dave Raymond saying hello. Andy Kane says hello. There's LRCX. That's Larry joining us from Northern California. Renewing membership. Now I'm member 34 months. He goes, I always like these videos where I learn more. Thanks, Carey. Thank you, Larry. David Graham also renews his membership. Now a member 31 months. All of my computers, he says, are AMD, and one has a Ryzen 7 5700G, and it won't auto-update, and it's set to no GPU, just the APU. Yep, that's par for the course. It's not always the case, but it's common. And so that's why it has to be checked. You should no more assume that you're getting updates than you should no more assume you're not getting updates. That's the point of what I'm trying to convey in today's video is you don't know unless you check. You should neither assume one or the other. There's no reason for you to assume it. Not when it takes the tiniest little bit of effort for you to just go and look and see. Should I assume it's raining outside, or should I look out the window? Should I assume it's not raining outside, or should I look out the window? Because if I look out the window, I will know the reality. But if I only want to hear what I want to hear, and I only want to see what I want to see, I mean, it sounds like somebody has passed on to another world. It doesn't sound like you're living. It sounds like you're the opposite of that. And I just feel like when we're gone, when our time here is expired, we'll have plenty of time to go live on another world. But for right now on this one, I prefer, me personally, to embrace and be aware of the world around me, not just what's going on in myself. I want to know what's going on around me. I'm fascinated by it, and I think it's beautiful. And in some cases, I can improve it by just simply being aware of it. I can help other people. I can help myself. I can utilize what resources are around me to keep me alive if need be. I can use the sticks to start a fire and keep me warm. I can use vegetation and animals to keep me fed if I'm starving. It's an incredibly beautiful world. And I don't know why people avoid it so much. I don't get it. But be that as it may, I don't have to. And I want to share with you that simply because you don't pay attention to what's going on outside doesn't change what's going on outside. And whether or not you pay attention to what's going on inside your computer, it doesn't change what's going on inside your computer until you decide to play an active role in it. And since this requires no money, and it simply requires some motivation for you to actually do something to improve your own life. It doesn't improve mine. It doesn't improve anybody else's. This is by you, for you, and if you don't do it, no one's doing it for you. Or if it is being done for you, how thoroughly? If you can't be bothered to look, I guess you don't care. If you don't care, you might be better off with a smartphone and just leave it at that. That you probably, this isn't the right tool for what you're using it for. So that's just my opinion. But I want to make sure that we have an understanding that there isn't just one rule that applies to everyone. It kind of depends on where that person's perspective is coming from. And, you know, Apple takes care of a lot of these things on behalf of their customers. And by doing so, they prevent their customers from doing a lot of things that a PC user could do. You may not care about that. As a result, Apple charges a lot of money for that convenience. They are acting as your bodyguard, and they're not allowing you to go certain places. The President of the United States cannot drive a car. I mean, at least not off of the grounds of the White House or whatever. They can't get in a car and drive it. That is not allowed. The President of the United States cannot override that rule. The President of the United States is told, you will not drive a car on the public road. I don't care. You can't override it. Too bad, so sad. Even the president cannot choose to do that. It's not an option. So, depending on what you're expecting out of the computer, depends on what kind of computer you should have. Whether or not a smartphone is good enough for you, or whether or not an Apple computer is good enough for you for the added price, or whether or not a PC is what you need because you like freedom, choice, and more competition in pricing. There's no right or wrong answer. It's like, do you want chocolate or vanilla? Do you want Pepsi or Coke? But if you're buying something that you think is chocolate and it's not chocolate, getting angry at it for not being chocolate is your fault. That's not the chocolate. You know what I'm saying? Like if you bought some other flavor and you thought it was chocolate, that's on you. So just accept the responsibility is all I'm saying. Life is so much easier because you can correct. I can't correct that for you. The manufacturer can't correct your decision making for you. You have to first acknowledge what your role in that was, and then secondly, acknowledge what you can do in the future to get what you actually wanted. That's all on, it's nobody else's responsibility. This is no different. So yeah, the idea that, you know, Apple locks it down is very similar to Secret Service locking down the president. You know, this is locked down. This is the way it's going to be. You can't change it. It doesn't matter who you are. You can't change it. And with Apple, it's much the same way. And for some people would say that sounds like great security. And, you know, basically I have to be driven around. You can see that as a good thing. If you enjoy your freedom and you like to drive, you don't want to become president because you won't be doing that for 4 years. All right, anyway, let's take a look. So, bottom line, where do we start with this? We start with Windows updates. That's a basic, very common thing. I think most people know. I also think most people are aware when Windows updates take effect because they see the computer restart or announce somewhere in the system tray or on your screen that updates have been installed, or your computer needs to be restarted to apply updates that have been downloaded in the background. That's how auto updates should work. However, just because that's how Microsoft chooses to update Windows doesn't mean that's how they choose to update Office, or that it works similarly or as reliably, or even that it even notices, that it tells you, makes you aware of it. And every piece of software, whether it's your antivirus software, your browser, Firefox, your email, if you're using, I don't know, Thunderbird or whatever you're using for email, you must update the software if you want the best experience. And by best, I mean the best performance, the best reliability, and the best security. So long as you keep ignoring these free updates that dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of developers were working together just for you to dismiss it, that's just smacking yourself in the face. You're not punishing them. They've already done the work. Then they gave it to you for free. They offered it, and then you dismissed it, or you're not even aware. It's over here outside of your line of vision. And I'm encouraging you to turn your head and look. There is no downside to this. It's either going to make very little difference from your perspective, or it's going to make a big difference from your perspective. But what it won't do is make things slower or less reliable. That much, it's just not going to happen. The minute you start using third-party utilities, if you're using Revo or CCleaner or all this other nonsense, I'm not telling you not to, but you are likely going to have problems no one else is going to have unless they also do the same things that you do. So I'm not telling you not to use third-party software. I just want you to understand you're also taking on some risk with that the rest of us who don't use that software aren't taking on. And my preference is to have a safety net when I walk a tightrope. Your preference may be you can fall to your death. Okay, you can walk a tightrope without any safety. Go ahead. You think it's worth it? I'm not telling you not to do it. I'm just telling you that if you slip and fall, you will likely perish. For the rest of us, we're going to put a safety net in, so if we slip and fall, hopefully we're not injured at all. This is very much the same way about playing it very safe. And if it's somebody else's computer and you're not playing it safe, you shouldn't be touching it. You want to play it safe, or rather you don't want to play it safe with your own computer, that's fine. But when you're responsible for somebody else's computer and you have that dismissive and disrespectful of an attitude, you have no business touching somebody else's stuff where you think this doesn't matter. And then you end up making their life miserable, and they're pissed off at you and you're pissed off at them because they didn't appreciate your work. And that's what happens when you try and help people for free. All right, so let's go back over to my full screen. Oh, wrong full screen, Carey. Let me bring up, there we go, now I can see it. All right, we're gonna opt out of backup right here and skip this for now. So currently, if we check system, our version of Windows is now what? We're still 24H2, 26.100.8039. So much more current on the second half of this build number. Let's go to Windows Update again. Now, 25H2. Oh, it's waiting on these updates. Let's go ahead and install all. Windows 25H2 should be offered here. And it will require all prior updates installed first. So we have to get everything in line ahead of it dealt with. And then 25H2, it's like having a number at the deli counter. Now serving number 12, who's got number 12? So we've got number, let's say, 1, 2, and 3, and 25H2 may be number 4. And that's why you're not seeing it yet. So this is normal and expected. We absolutely expect this process. And we are very far behind in our updates, so this is going to take a little while. The other advantage of checking your updates more often is that it won't take as long. If we're already up to date on our Windows updates, all this time we spent so far would have been done months ago. We'd already be moved on. The more you ignore it, if you don't mow your grass for 6 months in the summertime, it's probably going to take a while. If you stay on top of it and mow it every week and a half, every 2 weeks, might take 15 minutes, depending on the size of your yard, but you won't be filling up as much trash and emptying the catching bag as much, right? It's just common sense, isn't it? So by creating these good habits, it's really up to you and how you use your computer to determine how often you need to be checking it based on your particular preferences and the way you use your computer. So with those updates installed, let's check for updates again. Now notice those did not require a restart. And let's see if 25H2 gets offered to us. Now usually, in most cases, you are going to get that that Windows 25H2 offer. And in fact, yeah, it was number 4. See, it just appeared down here. But if it doesn't, like if you've had your computer for a while and you're just not getting the offer to 25H2, you can download the EKB file, which you can just type in a browser, download 25H2 EKB, and hit enter. And then there's Paul Thoreau has a Windows blog he's had for decades. And he's got an article explaining the EKBs with direct links to download them from Microsoft. I can't speak for other sources, but at least I know if it's Paul Thoreau, he's a trusted resource who's been around a long time. He knows what he's talking about, and I can trust the links are going to Microsoft. Let's take a quick look in the chat while we're waiting for 25H2. Phil Stodd joins us and says hello. Welcome in, Phil. Mark Leibowitz says hello from Chicago. Good to see you, Mark. Mike Gamer says hello. Richard DeFries and Graybeard joining us as well. Welcome in, everybody. Hope you're all having a great Sunday. All right, that's how long 25H2 takes. It's pretty quick. Let's go ahead and restart. Get back over to the chat. Now, you probably remember before when we first turned this on, how that we stuck at that user thing before it booted, and that's much, much faster now. So let me go through this real quick. I'll show you a very easy way to get rid of this. Some people way overthink this. When it says let's finish setting up your PC, click continue. And then right here where it says not now, leave your mouse right here. Don't move your mouse. Just click, 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 click. You're done. That thing isn't going to come up for a long, long time again. All right, you're done. Did you notice that? Once I moved that mouse, all I did was click 4 times. Okay? Don't have to overthink this. We don't have to make it more complicated than it really is. I do believe we have one more Windows update after 2.5H2. I believe it's the .NET framework. Let's go and grab it. Let's just verify. Check for updates and let's see. No, these are your standard updates. You go, duh, we all knew this. It's what I'm going to show you after this that may be eye-opening for many of you. So stick around. But I'm not editing and I am not set this up in any way. It's not scripted. Everything's happening unrehearsed, and I'm telling you what I'm expecting. All right? My expectations are based on reality and past experience. Your expectations could be based on watching videos and reading Reddit. So, you know, just keep in mind where your source of information is coming from, because nothing beats real-world experience that you yourself have. And I'm showing you how to get it, if you want it. I just can't make you want it. Why is preview update KB5079391 not available on my Dell laptop? Is that the most recent preview update? When updates install, Microsoft gets feedback if the update does or does not successfully install. And the reason they get that feedback is so they can be aware of a problem before people are reporting it. And if that's the update I think it is, they came out with this preview update, which, by the way, there's no security issues in that. It's just a feature update. It's not important. But Microsoft was getting feedback from the Windows Update system that a lot of computers, more than normal, an unusually large percentage of computers where the update was not able to install. So about 2 days after Microsoft published it, they took it down and identifying what's going on with it. Now, every computer I've installed it on, again, I've had no problems. So whether or not this is related to something like Steam or gaming, it's possible because I don't deal with that. On the other hand, regardless, it's in Microsoft's hands and Microsoft's responsibility to figure it out. But it's nothing. Let me just verify. We're talking about the same update here. You're saying KB5079391. Let me just double check. KB5079391. No, this KB5079381. Wait a minute, did I type it in wrong? Let me double check my typing. 5079391. I typed in 81. That's a whole different update. Details. Windows 11 KB5079-391 update pulled as Microsoft scrambles to address installation issues. I don't know what installation issues. I never had a problem with it. Microsoft has pulled its latest non-security preview update. The update was pulled due to some, not most, some users reporting installation issues. Microsoft said it's removed it from Windows Update just temporarily. The good news is this issue never resulted in PCs becoming inoperable. Instead, the update simply failed to install with an error 800737712, which appeared in Windows Update as, you know, the error message. But your PC would continue to operate with normal. So it's a non-issue, and it is an optional update. And most users are like, they never even tried to install it anyway. So I think that's just like people want to know why, but can't really tell you why they want it. They don't necessarily know what it does. They don't know why they would want it or what it would do for them. But maybe they got it a couple days earlier on one machine and they're wondering why the other machine isn't being offered. And that's as far as the question goes. And this is why. So I hope that answers your question. All right, let's get back over to maintenance. So all the maintenance I'm going to show you, I highly recommend all of you do. If you have a Windows 10 or Windows 11 computer, I want to start off by talking about the elephant in the room, which is AMD. And while AMD makes good CPUs, their software sucks. I don't care if you want to disagree with me. It sucks. And I hope someday AMD will get on board with a more consistent, more transparent software installation. But AMD is not a software company. Let's be clear. That's not their bread and butter. So unfortunately, you can tell. Let me give you some real-world examples of why I have this attitude, and I can tell you live, unscripted on this machine, I know exactly what I'm going to see. We are out of date, and it's not telling us we're out of date, and it's not updating itself. Everything's working, but is it as secure as it could be? Is it working as fast as it could be? I don't know. How would I know? You have to compare it to something. So let me show you how we do that on an AMD system. Let's just start there. I'm going to go down here to the bottom right corner, and I have this AMD, well, it says update required. Isn't it nice that it waited for me to... Are you okay? I needed to go to the hospital 7 weeks ago. Oh, well, I wish you would have spoken up. I didn't know. Well, now that I've asked, it wants to auto-update. But is it going to auto-update? No. God, I love AMD. This is so embarrassing. I just think at this time that we live in, and as long as AMD has been around, you would think this basic crap would have been sorted. This is an example. This isn't going to happen with Intel software, in the equivalent competitive software. So I don't know who AMD is measuring themselves against, and I don't know what excuse AMD is having this far along. How long have they been competitive with Intel? This far along in just the Ryzen series alone, that this software is really specifically for. No one's taken the time to make it any better. We're still back to the way it was 10 years ago. This is embarrassing. So how do you fix this? Or what if you don't even have this? What if this icon doesn't exist for you on your AMD machine? It's the same. You're going to go to AMD. If you're not quite sure how to get here, you can just go to your browser. We'll use Google in this example. And we'll type in the name of the software, which is AMD Adrenalin without an E. Adrenalin, no E. And the first link goes to AMD.com. And this one says second link, install. Okay, I want to install it. No, that's not what I want. Maybe it is the first link. Let's check. Yeah, it was the first link. Download software. You notice that's the page we were on? Can't even tell them apart, right? So we got there two separate ways. It's not rocket science. Even if you have the latest version of AMD Adrenalin, it would not hurt you to just download it and install it again. There's no downside to this. Like if you're saying, I'm not sure how to tell if I have the latest version. And different versions work and act differently. They don't all work the same. AMD can't be, for whatever reason, they refuse to be consistent with the interface. So sometimes it's hard to even tell what version you have. So just, if you're uncertain, just hit download the window driver and it downloads this file. If you've already got the same version installed, it will not hurt anything to reinstall it. And if the version you've installed is older, you'll be updating it. So either way you win, and either way it's free. There's no downside. So we've downloaded this, right? So we go up here to our downloads. It's right there, click it. Yes. So I don't even know what version I've got. It won't even tell me. Nor do I care, because I already know it's out of date because the software doesn't work. Thanks, AMD. Now, here it tells us it's going to update our graphics card, which is really what the Adrenalin software does. And the graphics card is built into the CPU. It says it's also going to update our chipset driver. See that? You may not see this all the time. AMD seems pretty random in this regard, and you need to pay attention. So it says it's going to update our chipset driver. Great. Accept and go. It's free. It only takes about 2 minutes of your time. And you might find after this, it's such an important update, that everything is like your computer is brand new again, or faster than it's ever been before, because it was never updated the entire time you've owned it. So it was never running right from day one. I have seen it with my own eyes. I've seen the customers with the gaping jaw. Oh my God, did you give me a whole new computer? No, we just updated drivers for free that took 2 minutes. Okay, that's why I'm so passionate about this. There's no excuse. Why wouldn't you do this for free for your own improvement when there's no downside? The only downside is if you refuse to do it. You're too stubborn, or you think, it's already updated, without actually checking it. Go right ahead. Go right ahead. One of the issues that the AMD Adrenalin software has is they will deprecate old hardware and pull the drivers out of the Adrenalin software. So if you have an older AMD Ryzen, it may say, like you saw me struggle to get the graphics on a Ryzen, what was it, like a 3500, a 3000 series card, 3000 series CPU. And we could not get video drivers. And AMD said, we don't offer them anymore. You have to get them from the manufacturer. We don't provide. So in other words, from the manufacturer of the mini PC. And then we went to the mini PC manufacturer's website and they didn't have them. So we found another mini PC that uses the same CPU, went to their website, found the driver from them, and put it on. For AMD to do that to their customer, by the way, Intel doesn't do this. For AMD to do this is so offensive to me. But gamers gonna game, right? And some people just really don't want to use Intel, and it doesn't matter how inconvenient AMD might be. They'll find a way to tell you it's better. This is not rocket science for AMD to fix this, by the way. What I'm trying to tell you is, if you're one of those people that thinks AMD is superior, then you're choosing to ignore everything I'm showing you. And that's your choice, but it doesn't change the reality for the rest of us who care. So the first thing we do is make sure people are aware of it, and that you can verify everything I'm showing you is real, true, authentic reality. It is not an opinion. And you can verify it yourself if you're skeptical, and I encourage you to do so you can know for sure what the truth is. And if you're okay with the truth, that's fine. I'm not telling you whether or not you should be okay with it. I'm telling you I'm not okay with it. And most of my customers, when I show them this, they are flat out shocked because they thought all this was happening on its own. For some people, Inconsistently, it does happen on its own. But for most people, in my experience, it is not happening. And if the customer doesn't check it, the customer doesn't know. But if the customer doesn't know to check it, then they don't know what they don't know. And that's why I make these videos. People can take that information and benefit from it, or they can dismiss the information and not benefit from it. I don't care either way, but I don't want you to tell me, oh, I didn't know. I want you to tell me, I know you taught it, but I just ignored it. It's my fault, it's your own fault. I want people to accept responsibility, so when they get angry at something and realize they had opportunities that they ignored, I want them to acknowledge that was their decision, and that's why their consequences are different than everybody else's. I just want some ownership of responsibility. And it would be nice for AMD to be a lot more transparent and clear with regards to this software when they deprecate hardware. And every manufacturer of mini PCs should have a download for their drivers, for crying out loud. But again, people are shopping some pretty shady sites, getting from manufacturers off AliExpress, and you're basically shopping at a garage sale, which is fine if you're a technical person and can provide all the missing pieces on your own. Because if you went to Dell or HP and said, give me no guarantee, provide me no drivers, give me no support, I'm sure Dell could probably lower their prices down to be more competitive with the garage sale. But they don't do that. It's beneath them. So understand what your role in this is. When you decide to go buy something because it's cheap and you think it's the same thing, it's not. Support isn't free. Warranty isn't free. And if you're not paying for that peace of mind and that security, you're not buying the same thing. That's why it's cheaper. All right, so let me get all worked up. Let me get back full screen here again. Let's get back over here. Sometimes this needs a reboot. See this box? Keep AMD software up to date. I definitely want to keep AMD software up to date. We can close this. And if we come down here, give it a minute, it's going to start up. It should work this time, and it does. And it says your current version. Now this is referring strictly to the video driver, the Radeon Adrenalin driver. Where it says manage updates, we click on this, right? This is where a lot of you right now, if you follow along with me if you have an AMD system, many of you are going to be shocked when you look at this. What a lot of people are going to see is a different screen than mine. You say, well, how come my screen looks there? Ask AMD why they can't make up their mind. I don't know why. AMD keeps changing and changing, and they can't stick with any format. But what you might see is somewhere down here, it says AMD Chipset Drivers, and it says auto update with a little slider like kind of looks like this, and it's off. Or there may be another option, depending on which AMD Adrenalin software you've got and how old it is, where it says update other software and it's turned off. Even though it's on auto update over here, it's not on auto update over here. And yet still some of you won't see anything about your AMD chipset driver mentioned at all. Some of you will go to the main screen and says, how come mine doesn't have a manage updates button? Because AMD keeps changing it. They can't make up their mind. So for that reason, just go and get the AMD Adrenalin software right now, whether you think you need it or you don't. And you should get the same screen we're getting today. What it looks like tomorrow, I'll let you know. So what happens if you say, okay, I'm looking and I still, even after updating the Adrenalin software, I still don't see anything in here about the chipset drivers. Where are they? Well, I've seen that a lot of times on AMD software. And here's how you solve that. You're going to go to your browser. You're going to go back to your search and type in AMD. I guess we can just go right back where we were, that same link, and scroll down. Instead of here, scroll down here. And we want chipset drivers. Now, Here's something else AMD does. They want to know which motherboard chipset you have. I encourage you to download each one of these. The AMD 570. We want the Windows 11 64-bit. Okay, and it's a 74 meg file, and here's the chip revision number. What sort of twisted, masochistic software developer or website developer would ask you to make these decisions, and no matter what decision you make, chipsets, oops, no matter what decision, bear with me for a second, chipset, then let's pick something else. What did we pick before? AM5? Let's try let's stick with AM5, but let's go all the way to the, I don't know, let's go all the way to the bottom. Let's B650. Submit that instead. Windows 11. It's the exact same download. It's exactly the same. Why do you have to go through and itemize your chipset when it's the same chipset driver for all of them? At least all the AM4 are all the same chipset. All the AM5 are all the same chipset. If I'm wrong, let me know. Because in my experience, I've not checked every one of them, but I've checked at least a half dozen of them, and they all point to the exact same file, meaning that answering those questions is completely redundant and unnecessary. Why does AMD do that other than they just don't respect the value of your time and they don't care about you? It's their policies over your convenience. It's one of the dumbest things, one of the most disrespectful things a manufacturer can do is ask you an unnecessary question that doesn't change the results regardless of how you answer it. Get rid of the damn question. All right, let's go to chipsets again, because if you have a mini PC or a laptop, then the answer is laptop chipsets, right? And then there's only one option, Ryzen and Athlon mobile chipset. Hit submit. Geez, what do you know? It's the exact same file. It's the same version, it's the same size. What is going on at AMD? But hey, look, I don't know what's going on over there. Just give me a damn chipset driver. You know, if you wanted an Intel driver, chipset driver, you would type in Intel chipset driver. I'm not picking sides. I'm pointing out facts, okay? So whether or not you think I am biased, yeah, I'm biased to the easy thing, not the more complex thing. And it just so happens, factually, Intel's system is inarguably one download, so much simpler. You just download it and go. More or less the same as AMD's, but the way Intel offers it is very clear. We're not answering which this and which that. It's boom, one download takes you there, and it just determines your chipset in your driver and installs the right one. Big deal. It's not that much bigger. It's 74 megs versus 106. Which do you prefer? Never mind one says Intel, one says, take that out of your brain. Which way do you prefer to get your chipset regardless of who makes it? Okay, this is regular ongoing maintenance. It shouldn't be this discouraging and this complex unless it's required. It's not required. I'm proving it to you. Well, that's upsetting. Okay, but regardless of that, when you download this driver, you will click to install it. Now, we already have it, right? We can verify with the latest Adrenalin software that we've got the latest driver. But if we're still not sure, you could still install it again. It's not going to hurt anything. There is no harm in this whatsoever. Now, I know for sure we've got it because the AMD Adrenalin software that we've got makes it very clear. But maybe for you, it's not so clear. Maybe your software isn't as clear because you have an older chip where the AMD Adrenalin, AMD has deprecated your chip. In which case, you don't know. Well, here you go. This will put it all in anyway. even though we've already got it. And the software's not even smart enough to tell you, you don't need this. AMD has dropped the ball here by not implying in any way, shape, or form that it is redundant for you to put something on you already have. It's a dumb installer. It's like some people working out of their garage came up with this nonsense. And again, how long has the Ryzen chip been out that they haven't found the time to improve the quality of this software? I understand if they just got started or they're strapped for cash. There's some little startup, you know. We're well past this point. And there's no excuse for it. But we're not going to change it, but I'm going to make you aware what you're going to have to do to work around the fact that they don't want to provide it to you, and they're not going to. So if you need it, you need to know exactly how to get it, what you're looking for, and it's on you, and that's part of the condition of buying an AMD CPU. They're a hardware company. They're not a software company. Now down here, we've got a hazard symbol on our antivirus, and this is important. We want to check this. This says it's been a long time since we've done a virus scan. That's the only problem. Hey, nothing wrong with doing a virus scan, even if you don't need it. You know how you can know for sure if you don't need it? By running it and verifying your assumption is factual. Okay. I mean, I know I don't need it because the machine's been off the whole time. How would it get a virus? But on the other hand, you might just get surprised because maybe it had a virus that wasn't detected when we shut it off 7 months ago. And with updates, it will now find it when it couldn't have found it 7 months ago. That's why you have to verify your assumptions. At least if you care about being right or accurate, which again, I am held accountable to, and my line of income depends on it. I lose my job. So my consequences versus yours, there's no downside to you like there is for me. So you have choices I don't have. You can choose to live with an unknown virus. I can't make that choice affordably without jeopardizing my customers' data, all their customers' data, their employees' ability to earn a living, my ability to earn a living, and my reputation. Yeah. So, you know, I'm very passionate and very serious about this because there's no good reason anybody would say this is too much trouble. It doesn't cost you anything financially. If you're just that lazy and that confident, you and I probably aren't going to get along because you live in a different world. You're allowed to, but I'm allowed to not want to join you there, okay? That's all I'm saying. All right, so this should only take a second to scan. Now, what about all the other drivers? What are other drivers that we need to look at? So while the virus scan is going on, oh, it's already done. Let me show you a few other things we check for maintenance. Right-click on the Start button and go to Device Manager. First of all, we want to make sure everything is happy in here. If you have anything that's calling out for attention, well, it's pretty obvious. It's been waiting for your attention and you've been ignoring it. So let's take care of it. In this example, live and unscripted, we have no problems here, but that doesn't mean we've got the latest drivers. So let's take an example with network adapters. The network adapters are made by Realtek. This is the Wi-Fi adapter, and this is the LAN adapter. And the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth typically share the same driver or the same driver package. If we want the latest driver, we need to go to the manufacturer. So for example, the Intel Ethernet i226V tells us on the driver tab, we're running a driver from 2022. It's working, clearly. But is that the latest driver? And if it isn't, how come? Why would they update a driver unnecessarily? You don't need to know. All you need to know is having the latest driver is free and it's in your benefit and will prevent you from having problems. So you can wait until you need to diagnose a problem and figure it out and spend all the time and be reacting to it when it happens when you had other things to do. Too bad for you, that was your choice. Or we can nip it in the bud right now and never have that problem and be ignorant of that problem ever existing, at least for us. And you can listen to other people whine and complain about it on the internet because they're too thick-headed and stubborn to actually go do anything to prevent it. So let's see, is this the latest version? How can we tell? We're going to open the browser. We're going to type in Intel i226p driver download. Right here, first link. Intel makes it real easy. There's a combination driver pack. That means this takes care of a ton of Windows drivers. Sorry, there are also drivers for VMware and FreeBSD. Now, if we just want Windows 11 drivers, this has a bunch of different Intel network cards, a ton of them, all in one package. All right, that's why this package is kind of large. It says it's version 31.1. What version did it say we had, by the way? I've already forgotten. 21.1 or 21.17. That's the difference of over 10 versions. But it's also been 4 years. It works, but how much better could it be working? I don't know. Let's find out. View the details. Download the driver. Now, because this has a bunch of different Intel network cards in it, it's not this little teeny tiny driver. It's still pretty small at 37 megs. And there should be a setup in here. So we'll just click setup. Oh, I have to extract it. Let's extract everything first, because that was a zip file. Now let's run setup. Install or update drivers for Intel. Okay, and we probably have to close this box for that to work. Or not. I guess not. Drivers for Intel network connections were successfully installed. It's a whole lot of time and effort in this, right? Driver version now says 2157. So the version of the package installer was 3.1, and the version of driver within that package that is needed for our card is 2157, and now has a driver date of September of 25 instead of February of 22. So that's 3 years newer. But from all intents and purposes, it seems to be working exactly the same. This is really about preventive maintenance. That driver wasn't updated for no reason. And if you want to find out why, don't change it. Let us know what the problem is and how long it took you to figure it out. So we will never have that problem that driver fixes, because we put the driver in before we needed it. Now, what about this Realtek? We have an 8852BE. Now, I don't know if Realtek offers that particular driver. Let's go see. Realtek Wi-Fi 8852BE driver download. A lot of times, some of these have to be downloaded from the PC manufacturer. But let's see what Realtek says. Here's realtek.com. I'm not going to Softpedia. Don't go to a third party for your drivers. Don't do it. All right, so this says this is for the wired controller. This is all wired. I wish they would say that, but we want wireless controllers. Where are the wireless drivers? So it's saying these are all of the, right, which one did I type into search? 8852? I don't think there's an 8852 on this whole page. Let me hit Control F, type in 8852 and just see if it pulls. Nope. Okay, all right. Wrong link then. Let's go back. I'm not going to download these drivers from a third party. They're going to come from Realtek, or we're not going to change them. Microsoft Update Catalog. It looks like maybe Microsoft is providing them. Let me try something. Let me go back to Realtek, and let's just change. Yeah, so that's all wired. Let's go up here and just go to download. See what's listed just under the download area. No download. Let's go to support, maybe products. Report download, overview, technical support, public relations, careers, downloads. Okay, communication, network, integrated circuits, computer peripheral, multimedia. So we want communications. Okay. Do we want wired connections or do we want wired connections that are USB? Oh, where's our Wi-Fi? Wow, here's a whole bunch of listings again. 8852, nothing. Wireless LAN, here we go, found it. Control F, 8852, still nothing. Why would Realtek not provide us those drivers? It's possible that that is a chip that is only sold to manufacturers. It is not one you or I could buy. So it is up to the manufacturers to provide any updates, which they may or may not do. So if you went with a reputable manufacturer, let me keep going back here. This says it's coming from Lenovo. All right, so Lenovo may or may not have a newer driver. This should be compatible, right? It's not typical that Lenovo would change it. And we're not having any problems with it. But the question is, would this be a different version? It says it's from July 13th of 2022. It's already 3 years old. So what do we have? What's our driver version here? This is newer. And we can always go to the manufacturer of the mini PC and look under their support to see if there's a newer one. It's not that important because it's not having any problems. But if there's an obvious driver update, I think you'd be a fool not to apply it. But if you have to go digging around to look for it, it's not that important. So in that case, we're going to leave it alone. If it's not broken in this case, don't go trying that hard to fix it. If the fix isn't obvious, like, hey, we just found a real easy download for it, then leave it alone. Now, let's get into some things you're not going to hear from most other content creators, which is, we've heard all this before, but what are the maintenance tips that most people don't talk about? Well, we're in the device manager. If you've been using your computer for a while, I want you to open your device manager right now. Remember, you can go on the right mouse click on your start menu and pick device manager and click once on that. You with me? I'll give you a minute. I want you to follow along with this. Once you're in your device manager, I want you to click on View, and scroll down to Show Hidden Devices. And I want you to start at the top with these greater than symbols. They're not brackets. It's not a parenthesis. That's the alligator with the mouth opening to the left, also known as greater than. Click once on that. And what I want you to look for, as we scroll through here, we're going to open a couple of these up until I can fill up the screen. Do you notice something that looks a little odd? Do you notice how that is a dark icon and that's a ghost? I'm going to delete the ghost by selecting it and choosing the X. Look at all these ghosts. These are devices we had plugged into USB at some point, and it remembers them forever. Some of you might have more ghosted devices than you have actual devices. And it's all just sitting there with drivers that you're not using, taking up resources that are not available to you, so that the next time you plug in whatever it is, it instantly recognizes it. So if I get rid of the Jet KVM device because we're not using it, I'm not hurting anything by getting rid of it by uninstalling it. Because it's USB, when I plug it in the next time, it'll just discover it and load the drivers for it, like it did the first time. But I don't need to keep the drivers on indefinitely. See the SanDisk USB Extreme USB device? It's not there anymore. So let's get rid of it. So you work your way through, right? You can go to keyboards. I'm sure that you might have a lot of HID or human interface devices that you don't have plugged in. Even if you move it to a different USB port, it's going to create it every single time, the same device. Every time you move it to a different USB port, it loads the driver for that port. Anything ghosted out, you can safely, without consequence, remove. Look at all these generic monitors. Anything that you plug back in that you've since removed will automatically reinstall. You don't have to do anything special. You probably won't even notice any difference. But you might notice a difference in your computer performance and responsiveness if this thing is jammed up with stuff that you've been building up for years and you've never known to clean it. Everything looks good here. We're going to keep working our way down systematically. Yes, drive D. You know, taking out one of these probably doesn't make any difference. The more of them you have, the more obvious the difference before and after will be. If you've ever changed out a CPU, you probably still have the old CPU drivers sitting in here. And if it's ghosted out, it's still loading the drivers for it. This is a pretty clean system. I don't know what this generic software component is. If we remove anything we need, it'll automatically put itself back in on our first reboot. It probably won't even tell you. It'll just work. I can't tell if these are ghosted or if that's the way it's supposed to look. So they look ghosted, but I'm not sure. I'm going to leave those alone. Yeah, that I can remove. Again, if it needs it, it'll just put it back anyway. Okay, we just have 4 more sections. Storage controllers, all looks good. Oh, wait, yeah. Storage volumes, on the other hand. Let's see. Those look good. System devices. Anything ghosted? Some of you could be in here for a half an hour with so many ghosted devices. I wouldn't be surprised. Both here and here, these last 2 ones can be a real bear. Because this is a USB device that you don't have plugged in right now to the same port that it was plugged into, or it's just not plugged in at all. So in this case, this is very mild because the computer's not being used every day. Okay. This could be critical on computers that have been in use for a couple of years and this has never been cleaned. When you're done, go ahead and close and shut down and restart. And anything that you may have removed that still needs to be there, if you go back in, you might find some ghosted devices put back in. That means that Windows needs that thing. Just leave it alone. Now you know, but it should be much cleaner and operate much more efficiently. How you guys doing over there? There's no harm in this. You won't break anything if you follow my instruction. You'll either not notice any difference or you will notice an improvement. That's it. But instead, people want to tell you how to disable services for better performance, and then come to find out Windows updates don't install after you disable that service 6 months down the line, and then you think it's a Microsoft problem. Doing this, on the other hand, this is completely safe, recommended, and nobody does it, and very few people ever talk about it. Why? Why does the world act like this? Is it just for clicks and popularity, or they just don't know any better? I don't know. But We don't do things in the professional world the way most enthusiasts show, and there's a reason for it. We're not turning our nose up going, oh, we're better than that. We have way too much to lose. So with that being done, something else you can run. Forget Revo Uninstaller. I understand it was a great product. It's still a good product, but it's completely unnecessary today. If this was 10 years ago, I'd be telling you something different. Times have changed. That product is no longer needed unless in extreme circumstance, in which case maybe you'd use it and then immediately remove it after that. You should not be regularly uninstalling with a Revo uninstaller unless you like to have problems. Well, I haven't had a problem yet. Then don't listen to me. You just keep doing what you're doing. I don't care, all right? But if you were working for one of my employers that hires me to maintain and we found out you were doing it, you're gonna have a meeting with the boss because it's not your computer. And I'm gonna give you the same advice I would give you if you were responsible for your decisions affecting everybody around you, not just you. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm giving you advice on how you can have a more reliable, more consistent computer. And if you're saying, well, mine's reliable and consistent, then don't do any of it. I don't care. I can't be more sincere. I wish you had a YouTube channel so you could teach us all how you can just do whatever you want and have no consequences. So I'm not in this for a competition. I'm going to share with you industry information that's not made available to the average user, and it's not made available to the average enthusiast. This is information you will only learn when you're put into that position. I am voluntarily sharing it with you, nothing more. You want to dismiss it? Be my guest. Okay. Let's move on to what do we do now instead of Revo or CCleaner? We use Microsoft's tool. There's nobody who knows Microsoft better than Microsoft, or nobody who knows Windows better than the people who made it. And if you think Microsoft is clueless about Windows, third-party companies can't even hold a candle to that level of knowledge and internals of Windows that Microsoft has that are not available otherwise. Microsoft isn't giving away all the internals. There's things about Windows they're not telling. So a third party could think they have all the information, but then over time, they often have to keep updating and responding because they can't control what Microsoft does with Windows. They have no say over it. And if their software worked once or worked for 6 months, but now it doesn't work anymore, that's the third party fault. That's not Microsoft's fault. Microsoft owes them nothing. It's their job to stay on top of changes. And if Microsoft changes then causes the third-party software to start causing you crashes, and you think it's because of Windows Update, you're wrong. It's because of that damn third-party software that you refuse to let go of. So if you have to have third-party software, you don't have a choice. But if it's just an emotional, makes me feel good thing, well, pick which one makes you feel better, okay? I don't care. In business, you don't get that option. You're paid to work, you're not paid to feel good. But regardless, let me show you. Let me show you. Let me go back full screen over. Wait, let me get rid of camera one for a second because I need to show you this process. And this is true for everything I've shown you is true for Windows 10 and 11, by the way. We're going to I'm going to make myself full screen here. There, now I can see. We're going to come down to the search bar here, and we're going to type in PC space manager and press enter. Enter. There we go. And it's already been installed. You'll get this from the Microsoft Store. It's free. No account is needed. You'll download it. It's a small application. What this is going to do is that you can hit the boost button and free up temporary files and memory usage without having to do a restart. You can do a disk cleanup. Now do bear in mind, if you want to check all the boxes, you're probably going to wipe out all your saved cookies and caches and passwords that you may have saved in your browser. But if you just leave it at the default and don't make any changes, the 3.9 gigs assumes you check every box. under the circumstance that you will basically be resetting the browser. I'm not going to reset the browser. I just want to clean up the caches, but I still want to keep any saved logins and passwords. Okay, so we're not going to clean up all 3.9 gig as a result. So don't be surprised if when it's done, you get a much smaller number. Actually did a really good job. So 3.8 gigs of our hard drive space that was not available to us because it was taken up by cache and temporary files. Ignorance is bliss, right? You just got 3.8 gigs of more drive space. It didn't cost you anything. You're welcome. Furthermore, when you go under apps, if you want to check your process management, your startup apps, you want to do a deep uninstall, it's all right here. You want to go over to the toolbox, they got all kinds of stuff for screenshots, for recording and captioning, shortcuts to the calculator in Notepad. You can add links down here for certain websites for easier access. I don't use any of this, by the way. And you can even have this shown on the toolbar if you have a toolbar up there if you want. You want to monitor everything because you're one of those people? You want to monitor your resources by taking up more resources to monitor the available resources by consuming the resources you have now to report your resources? You can totally do this nonsense if you want to. I think for temporary diagnostic, that's one thing, but Persona just leave this running at no time. But then don't tell me you care about PC performance if you're running performance monitoring that's consuming some of your performance to run. That's just stupid to me, but you're allowed. That's your choice. I would turn that off for obvious reasons. Here we've got a restore button. That's if you wanted to restore some settings back that you've changed. And we've got a clipboard. Oh, sorry, a claw board. I guess that's for claw apps. Settings. I always turn on Smart Boost setting, turn it on. It should automatically run on its own when it needs to. I've never actually seen it do that, but I still turn it on anyway. You can monitor application usage duration. Make sure it's starting at startup, so every time the computer starts, the application starts. That's on by default unless you change it. There's all your maintenance right here. This eliminates those third-party applications, and because it's made by Microsoft, the application never, no matter how many machines I've run this on, Windows 10 or 11, has it ever caused a consequence. In most cases, you don't really see any difference unless you're watching your drive space, and then you can see your drive space suddenly, become more available than it was before. Process management is here if you want to turn off some things. But other than that, you just close it and it'll go down here in the system tray. And what I like to do is right-click on the taskbar and click on to show other system tray icons. I want to see that PC manager just to remind me it's down there. See now that I've turned that on, I can see it. It's not hidden. And that'll remind me from time to time when I see it to just check it and hit the boost button. I've seen this where, it should have been run past the threshold, past the, the smart boost, which it says it'll automatically boost if there's more than 1 gig of temp files. And I go in there and see there's 3 gigs of temp files and it never auto ran. I'm not too upset by it. I just click once, give it a second. Everybody should have this on their Windows 10 or Windows 11 computer. Everybody should remove CCleaner, glary utilities, Revo uninstaller. If you want something reliable, you need to start removing all your points of failure. We want the fewest amounts of failure points possible. This is my philosophy when it comes to electrical or plumbing. If we have to keep connecting 2 pipes together to make it shape to get it to go where we want it to go, every single time you connect 2 pipes together, every single time you connect 2 wires together, you have a future point of failure. Now, this doesn't prevent rats from chewing things up, okay, and causing a failure, but we're just talking about where 2 things connect. So today in plumbing, for example, instead of running copper tubing, which has to be straight, then you've got to put an elbow on it. Each end of that elbow is potentially a point of failure in the future. Then you run another pipe, you get to the end of that one, and now we're going to elbow it up. And we get it routed in the house to where we need it to go. Was great in 1975. Today we have something called PEX, or PEX. And it's this flexible tubing that you just say, here's where I want it to go, and you run it up the wall, and you just give it a nice gentle curve and twist and move it. We don't twist it, but you know what I'm saying? It's flexible. So you literally have no connection other than at each end. Do you know what the odds are of that failing? Far lower than the odds of, having all of these points of connection. If you get rid of the software you absolutely don't need to have from third parties, those are all points of failure. And when I mean failure, I'm talking about computer performance. I'm talking about Windows update failures. I'm talking about security issues. All of that. If you've got a login somewhere and they get breached and they've now got your login information, the bad guys, and they're selling it online or giving it away for free, and you use that same login information in other places, even though the other places didn't get hacked and you didn't get hacked, you just didn't think it through. They just throw your email address and password that you were using over here. Just by chance, they throw it into a bunch of other sites, and guess what? Now they're in as you. That's why two-factor authentication should always be used. Then you get an alert. And if it says someone's trying to sign into you, and is this you, and it isn't you, you don't need to respond to it. Just delete it. Okay. So there's a couple of very simple maintenance tests, but we're still not done. I can spend an hour and a half just going through this on a regular customer's computer. Windows updates, drivers updates, disk cleanup. We haven't even done a disk cleanup. We ran the PC Manager disk cleanup, but that's a different disk cleanup. Let me show you what I mean. If we come back over here and we type in just a good old school, where's my mouse? Right here, disk cleanup. And clean up system files. Be sure and check that box. Gosh, I hope you're following along with me. And I don't care what these say. You can read them and study them, knock yourself out. I'm just selecting all of them. Anything in here we don't need. That's going to clean up another 773 megs, 3/4 of a gig of space that was not cleaned by the other Windows utility. Why? I don't know. Just verify it for yourself. We're not writing the tools. We're not the boss. We can't tell them how to write the tools. We're not investors. We haven't sunk $10 million into Microsoft as a shareholder. We don't get voting. We don't get it. We're just end users with a software license. Okay? So either learn to use it or make your own. Or live with the consequences, either way. All right. With that, there's still another area of maintenance that a lot of people assume is happening automatically. That probably is happening automatically. But again, it won't hurt for you to run it manually. And we're going to do that right after this. So we're waiting for the Windows update to just finish. Because in this case, anything I do to the computer might just be creating more temp files. Well, it's trying to clean up temp files. So I feel better just letting this process. And if you haven't done this in a while, this could take an hour or longer in extreme cases. So don't be surprised. And I've also seen where this seems like it never ends, but if you jiggle the mouse or click the mouse around it, suddenly it's done. And you're like, well, geez, why didn't it close? That's a question for Microsoft. It's not consistent. I've not been able to nail down why it does that or why it doesn't. Sometimes it closes when it's done, and other times it still looks like it's working when it's not. And all you do is jiggle the mouse and click around it, anywhere around it, and the box just goes away. So once that box goes away, we're going to do the next maintenance task. I bet there's a lot more involved in this than you've seen on any other content creator tech channel. They might show one or the other, but for someone to put it all together, That's what a paid professional is paid to do, right? To optimize and clean up and maintain a computer. We don't just do one or two things. We have to go through our list. And while there still be maybe other things that are needed based on third-party software, uniqueness of the client, this is the general, applies to everyone information regardless. And so we talked about drivers, we talked about the importance of those chipset drivers, those video drivers, and those networking drivers. Cannot underestimate or underscore the importance enough of how simple and free and effortless it is to preventing most of the problems you hear people complaining about, that these people aren't doing any maintenance, more than likely. And that's why their experience is so much different than the ones that my customers have. Now, see for yourself. Don't take my word for it. I'm just waiting for this to finish, and we're going to move on to the next thing. As you well know, we don't defragment solid-state drives. We all know this now, right? But instead, and many of you have forgotten this because most of you do not run this, we do something called a trim. Now, Windows is supposed to do the trim automatically. Is it? You can't trim the device too often. So once again, if you decide to run the trim command yourself and it doesn't need to be run, there's no downside to it. So once our Windows update finishes here, I'm going to show you how easy and quick it is to do this. And I want to add this feature onto the Windows 10 optimizer, or the Windows 11 optimizer, I mean to say. The Windows 11 optimizer is my own custom tool that automates a bunch of things, so you don't have to do all this by hand. Okay, so I'm not here to sell it to you. It's my tool. I need it for my business. And people are like, hey, would you sell that? We see the usefulness of that for us as home users. And I'm like, yeah, I'll sell to you. But I never set out to make the optimization tool for anyone but myself, because it's faster than me, it's more consistent than me, and I'm always doing my work as quick as I can and as consistently. Everybody gets treated the same in my line of work, so I don't have exceptions for people where they're having problems or scenarios that are different from everybody else, unless it's related to some third-party piece of hardware or software that they have to have, which I have no control over, right? But if I have control over it, everything is always done the same. If I'm helping a neighbor for free, if I'm helping a friend, or if I'm being paid by the hour to go through 50 computers in an office, they all get done exactly the same way. And a tool like my optimizer just makes my life so much easier. And we'll have a link to the optimizer down below if you want to buy it. It's a one-time fee. It helps support us here. And our friend over at D7X Tech does all the coding. And we do free updates for the life of the operating system. So when Microsoft says Windows 11 is no longer supported, that's when support for our optimizer will end as well. The optimizer is updated from time to time. We add new features, or if we're made aware of some issue that an end user has, the folks at D7X Tech address it and update it. I want to add some more features to it, and they're working on that too. And you can use it on as many computers as you want to. There's no license. There's no license code or activation. We're just asking you to behave and not give it away to your friends. Feel free to run it on your friend's computer. Please don't leave the application with your friend. Once it runs, that's it. You can take it off forever. If your friend really likes it, ask him to support us so we can keep making stuff. If you choose not to do that and we stop making stuff, you can know why. That's it. So our future in that is in your hands, or it's in the hands of the community. And so if it's something that's profitable for us, that our audience appreciates and sees the value in, you're encouraging us. If people think it's worth stealing and giving away, well, then that's discouraging to us, and we'll find other things to do with our time. Okay, is this done yet? No. No. Come on now. We don't have to wait for it to finish. It's just my thing. I just prefer not to start creating more temporary files. Well, it's trying to clean up temporary files. That's my own hang up. There it goes. All right, so we're going to go down to the yellow folder. We're going to go to the C drive, which should be in here somewhere. Let's see. This PC. Right click. We're going to go to Properties and Tools. You with me? Optimize and defragment drive. Well, this says optimize. It does not say defragment. Do you know why? Hit optimize. And it says you have a solid state drive. It needs optimization. It was last done 336 days ago. Oh, I thought this was automatic. Yeah, so did I. So hit the optimize button. Congratulations, you're done. It really is that a big deal? But I didn't know. That's my point. That's where the enthusiasts are getting other viewers in trouble, is because they don't know. And that's giving them the benefit of the doubt. Because a more skeptical person would say they do know, and they're doing it because it generates more clicks for them. Even though they know the consequences, they don't care. I'm not saying that. I'm saying they just don't know any better. So, at the end of the day, you're responsible for what you do on your computer. If you choose to believe what somebody says, that's on you. If you have a resource that has been trustworthy over a period of time, then you don't have to be quite so skeptical. But new information coming from an unknown or previously unknown source is not reputable. Until proven reputable, the information needs to be verified. And if you want to verify it by running it on your machine and seeing what happens, I'm not going to stop you. But if you did that where I work, if you did that for my clients, you would be fired. Customers don't like to be turned into guinea pigs and then pay you for that. They're funny that way. Let me do a restart over here. Let's come over here and let's go shut down and restart. Okay. Apart from running my optimizer, I feel like that's pretty thorough. Everybody watching this video can follow these steps for free. It won't take as long as it's taken me to explain it. And how often you should do that is up to you. You want to do it every 3 months? You want to do it once a year? Kind of depends on how you use the computer, right? And before you know it, you're going to start seeing all of these people complaining about bad Windows updates and Windows crashing as strangely as I do. Like, why are they having problems and I'm not? Because they're doing some things they're not telling you, and they may not even remember they did them. But it's never their fault. That's what you got to remember. It's never their fault. It's always Microsoft Update's fault. So that is social media. That's the standard. That's the bar. It's pretty low. All right, let me get back over to the chat, see if you guys have any final questions for me. Otherwise, that's probably going to wrap it up today, unless I've forgotten something. So if you do have any questions, please do ask. Supreme Nerd reminds me that the Microsoft PC Manager is restricted in the UK due to the General Data Protection Regulation, the GDPR there. However, as Mark Gaines pointed out, who lives in Northern Ireland, you can simply change the region settings in Microsoft Windows to the United States. Then you can download the PC Manager software and install it, and then put your region back to your actual region, if you want it. So it's a very easy workaround. It's not a big deal. But I do thank you for reminding me, because I'm in the United States. And a lot of times I forget that a lot of the viewers, we have a significant portion of viewers that do not live in the United States. And everything I've shown you should be universal and worldwide, except when it comes to that particular piece of software for people that live in a region of GDPR enforcement. But you know, just change it. Just type in region in your search, change it to the US, hit OK or reply, download and install PC Manager, go back to your region settings and set it back to the way it was. That's all you gotta do. That's it. It's really simple. It's not, gee, Carey, this gate is closed. There seems to be no way to open it. Well, there's just a lever you lift and push it open. Oh, it's not exactly like you need to be a lockpick. It's closed. You just turn the handle. It's not a big deal. But if you're a big firm believer in the GDPR protecting you from yourself, and that's the world you want to live in, then, you know, that's your choice too. I thought Microsoft PC Manager was made by Microsoft, not China. Microsoft PC Manager is made by Microsoft. It is not made by China. Microsoft PC Manager was originally beta tested and released in China before it was released in the United States. So when we first introduced you to the PC Manager, you acquired it from Microsoft Chinese division. I don't know why, I don't work at Microsoft, but that was never has been a Chinese product, but it was developed initially, tested in the Chinese market before it was brought to other markets. But Microsoft has always made it. What countries it's available in is up to Microsoft. Not everybody gets everything at the same time. Andy said, I want to set charge limits when charging my Nemo. You recommend an app to use with a smart plug. I don't know what charge limits are. I don't know what you mean. Andy wants to know, the different Andy Kane. When we were looking at the ghosted items in the device manager, do they have an improvement on PC startup? For some people, the answer is yes. For other people, the answer is no. Which one are you? You'll have to delete them and tell me. That's the point. I don't know what's ghosted in your device manager. I don't know what you've done or how you've done things to your computer any more than I would know anybody else's. So how can I possibly know that it would improve it or improve it to a level that you would even notice, but somebody else might notice it? Just because you didn't notice it doesn't mean it didn't improve it. You're asking an impossible question that you yourself are the only one who can tell the answer to. And the benefit is that there's no downside to it. So if you remove all the ghosted items and you don't notice any performance difference, it doesn't mean there wasn't one. It means you didn't notice it. Or it means there was no performance differences, but it didn't hurt either way. There was no reason to not do it. Unless you have a reason to not do it, please tell me what it is. And when you've done it and restart your computer, is there a performance difference? You, again, have to tell me. And that's only true for you, your computer, the amount of time and devices you've spent plugging things in and changing hardware around. It's different for you than it'll be for anybody else on the planet. So yeah, we'd appreciate hearing your feedback. Supreme Nerd said that wasn't his comment about the GDPR wasn't for me. Well, I mean, I am in the community, and if I see things that I think would benefit the audience, that's why I read them aloud. And so if I'm calling it out, I'm not, you know, I think there's a reason for me to call it out, regardless if it was intended for me or not. And I appreciate the reminder. Like I said, I completely forgot. Andy says, I know what you mean, and I will be giving feedback. I love it. That's great. Andy said he wants to keep his battery, the other Andy, charged at 80% top limit and 20% bottom limit. You're going to need to talk to the folks at Nemo for that. Generally speaking, when you're buying a budget laptop, you're not getting all of the features of an expensive laptop. When you look at Dell and Samsung and other high-end machines, that's already built into the machine. If you want to go and buy one of the cheapest manufactured laptops for the money, then you have to understand that those kind of features should not be expected because you didn't pay for those. So is there a way that you can do it yourself? I have no idea. So to answer your question, I don't know. But if it was me and I cared about it, I would have never bought that laptop, number one. Number two, if I bought it and then thought about it after the fact and it's too late to return it, I'd ask the manufacturer. That battery's going to die regardless. Whether or not you're able to get more life out of it by doing this, I guess it depends what you want to believe. If it were necessary, they would have already done it. That's my perspective. I think it's more of a psychological issue than it is a real issue. I don't think that batteries made by one company will have the same endurance and life of batteries, of the same exact batteries made by an entirely different company. They're not all batteries are the same. Even if there's a battery in a Sony powering a Sony laptop, and then that battery dies and you go on Amazon or AliExpress and you buy some cheap Chinese knockoff, do you think they're the same? And do you honestly believe that you're extending your battery life by these charging and maximums and minimums? Research suggests under laboratory conditions that is true. But under reality and real use scenarios, does it really make any difference? I don't think it's significant. I think to get anything more than 4 years out of a battery on a laptop is unusual. And your likelihood of exceeding 4 years of a battery made by anyone that goes into any laptop, regardless of how you charge it, is not normal to get more than 4 years worth. Like some people think their battery's fine because they never actually unplug it. When you actually unplug it from the wall and the laptop only stays on for 8 minutes, your battery's gone, man. If you've got your laptop plugged in so often that you're worried that your battery's that's gonna happen anyway, whether you like it or not. I'm sorry, you might be buying a couple extra months, maybe. But it doesn't sound like you ever take it anywhere to be portable anyway. So what difference does it make in reality and how you use it? If you're not naturally running that running that laptop on the battery, that you're so often plugged in that you're worried about it, then it's nothing for you to worry about because it doesn't affect you if your battery was dead anyway. But again, when you're spending, $2,000 on a laptop or more, it's pretty standard for that to be built into the BIOS. But you're still going to change your battery after 4 years. I'm sorry, it's just, there's this research, right, and science and laboratories, and then there's reality of how people use them. So I wouldn't worry myself with it, especially when you consider in 4 years, you might even just want to replace the laptop anyway. It was pretty inexpensive if it's a Nemo, and it'll be pretty inexpensive to replace it with something much better, much faster, with a brand new battery at the same time. But if you want to spend time and money and effort doing that, I won't stop you, but it seems more like something you would do for something to do than you're actually solving any problems. But I would contact Nemo, see what they have to say officially on that. I do appreciate the question. I just wonder about the time and effort put into that and what the big picture is here, because it's not something I deal with in the professional world. It's not something a customer will ever ask me to fix. They'll ask me to replace a battery quite often, but that's going to happen regardless. Beeline says my chipset installer stuck at 64%. Well, if it's stuck for about, I don't know, 5 minutes, like literally starting a timer and waiting 5 minutes, not what feels like 5 minutes. Verify it's been 5 minutes and that installer hasn't run. I would suggest you restart the computer, and when the computer restarts, try it again. And if it does it again, let us know. Thomas MacT said, in a Tesla, you can set how much percentage of the battery can be charged. So how much is the replacement battery on a Tesla? Do you know? Is it $10,000 for a replacement battery? How much something costs and what it's used for can verify what it's worth putting into preventive measures and what the manufacturer puts in for preventive measures. This is the whole point I'm trying to make. If I take, let me give you an example. At what point are you being absurd? This is what I'm trying to say. Let's take, just for example, remember, we're unscripted and unrehearsed, so I'm just going to answer your questions as directly and honestly with practicality. This little battery right here is a CR 2025 battery. It is not rechargeable. And these will last upwards of 10 years, depending on how they're used. These cost as little as 75 cents a piece and as much as $3 to $4 a piece, depending on the brand and where you buy it. If I buy one of these for 75 cents and I only get 2.5 years out of it before it fails, was that a better price than paying $5 for one that lasts 5 years? Well, it depends how difficult it is to replace and what are the consequences. So if I put it in a computer and my date and time are off, who cares? If I put it in the key fob for my car and I can't unlock the door, it could be kind of a big deal, right? So manufacturers of the cars will give you a key typically inside of your key fob that you can manually override. Tesla doesn't do that, but Tesla instead has other backup systems, and it's a lot more than $5 to buy a Tesla. So why would I buy a $10 insurance policy on a 75-cent battery that's going into a $300 mini PC? Right? You understand the absurdity of it. And then why would I compare a $10,000 battery pack that goes into a $60,000 Tesla that can affect whether or not I'm stranded and have to call a tow truck to a laptop battery? I mean, these are so different in value, consequence, replacement costs. I don't know how you could even begin to make that comparison. It's so unrelated. It's almost like trying to compare the sun to the power output of this battery. They're two entirely different power sources that work entirely differently. They both deliver power, but the scale of it, the cost of it, one is priceless and one is, you know, insignificant. Anyway, that's the way I see it. You may not agree with me, but then no one's going to pay me $125 an hour to go change out a battery. But a mechanic changing out a Tesla battery, oh boy, they're going to pay a lot more than that. Consequences. Andy said the app is free for the laptop and the smart plug is $12. Well, share your experience with us, Andy. I mean, I've never heard of such a thing. I think it's a waste of time and money. I think it's something that makes you feel good. It's like you want to go to a show and they're going to put on a theater show for you. I wish you had two laptops that were identical, that you purchased at the same time. And one you use the app and smart plug with, and the other one you just use like an ordinary person, like most people. And if there is a difference, what is the difference and is it worth it? And by the way, just because you think it's worth it doesn't mean I think it's worth it, or anybody else for that matter. But if I were traveling with the laptop, the last thing I want to do is have to carry around a special plug for it. Having another app running is consuming resources that I would rather use for me. I don't want the laptop to use its own resources and leave less for me so it can maintain itself. That computer is there for me, not for itself. But again, I come from a different place in that I want my tools specifically for my use. I don't want to buy a tool to use a tool. That's preposterous and absurd in the way that I was brought up. And if I have to use one tool to fix another tool, in order to then use that tool to fix whatever the thing was I needed the original tool for, I've got the wrong tool. That's on me. But just because you can do something doesn't mean it makes any sense for anybody other than you, and you're not doing anything wrong. And if you run that, I would be curious. He says, I'm lazy and I don't like to keep track of the charge state. So again, Andy, I don't know if you know any other people that own laptops. I'm assuming you probably know some people. And if you bring this up to them, they're going to say, like, how much Freon is in your refrigerator? How much refrigerant? How many pounds of refrigerant is in your refrigerator? What, when it was new or today? Because if your friend is an HVAC specialist and he checks his refrigerant level annually and you haven't checked yours in 12 years, from your perspective, he's asking a question that doesn't relate to reality. Why would I check something? My refrigerator's cold. From the HVAC specialist, he's saying, well, if your refrigerant hasn't been checked in 12 years, your refrigerator is probably using a lot more electricity and working harder. And you're like, and so? I don't know how to do that. I'm not going to pay somebody to go fix something that ain't broken. You're fixing something that isn't broken. Most people buy a laptop and they plug it in and they use it. When I say most, 98%. You're representing about 2% of the population in that you're caring about something most people would say is a complete waste of time and don't even think about it. They won't even waste time thinking about it. They bought the laptop to use it. Most people did not buy it to tinker with it. They bought it because they need to get something done with it. Anything beyond that, most people don't care about. And until they can't get done what they need to get done, their mind is on things that actually, make a difference in their life now, not necessarily in 4 years. So there's nothing wrong with your question. Not making fun of you or anything. I don't mean it to come out that way. But I'm saying that's such an unusual perspective that it is one not shared by the majority of people who own a laptop. That in such a case, it may be worth reconsidering who's smarter than the other person. Are the vast majority of people buying and using laptops smarter than the people who have all this knowledge that are then have anxiety and installing apps and hardware that is absolutely entirely unnecessary because they know better? At what point is your knowledge hurting you? I'm not saying it is. I'm saying it's worthwhile to self-assess from time to time by looking around and seeing if there's an epidemic you're trying to avoid, or if it only exists in your head and nobody else has this problem. Nobody that you know personally. There's way too much information online and it's toxic to some people, where they start building anxieties and trying to solve problems they never would have had, or believe that they're prolonging something that isn't actually making any difference at all, other than it makes them feel better as a placebo, which isn't illegal, and that's okay. If a placebo makes you feel better, take the placebo, please. But if you're asking yourself, is this a placebo, and am I buying into a mentality versus a reality, and you're okay with it either way, that's fine for you. But I wouldn't advise what you are doing. If you were my customer and you were paying me for advice, my advice would be, let me know when you're having a problem. If you're not having a problem, in this particular instance, I would not spend time or money trying to prevent that problem, because I guarantee you're going to have the problem. And when you have it, there's no way for you to ever know if you got the problem later because of what you're doing today, or if you got the problem at exactly the same time as everybody else who wasn't doing what you're doing, and you just spent the time and money for no reason, or you're just doing it for fun, in which case, knock yourself out. But you're going to have to report back to me on that. A lot of times, what ends up happening in my experience is the app you're downloading will have a problem. It's a third-party app. Windows is going to update. The app is going to cause a problem. Your computer's going to crash, or something isn't going to run. And eventually, you're going to figure out it's the app needs to be updated. Or your little smart brick thing is going to fail on you. And you're going to wonder why your battery's not charging. And you're going to check your cable. And you're going to wonder if your motherboard circuit's gone bad. And you're going to wonder this. And eventually, you're going to realize it's that damn third-party power adapter that you never should have bought to begin with, that now you're going to have to buy another one, or just go back to the one the laptop came with. When you've done that as many times as I have gone through this process, you'll understand why I'm just like, I cannot be bothered. You've got to be kidding me. How many UPSs have I had to replace that were never, ever activated because the company never lost power? But when the UPS battery went out in 4 years, the computer started failing, and I got a support call. The unit itself started beeping, and they're calling me going, there's a little box by the computer beeping. What am I supposed to do? And then there are the companies that burn down because the UPS battery shorted out, typically at night or over the weekend when the office was closed. And you can Google this. The battery caught fire, there was nobody there to respond, and the whole building burned down. To solve a problem they never had, to spend money they didn't need to spend, to have problems as a result that they would have never had. To each their own. There are people that need to have a UPS. There absolutely are. And if they need to have it, they need to make sure they change that battery every 4 years, whether or not they use the UPS or not. That battery has to get swapped out. If you're not swapping it out and you're just like, the UPS is still on, it's fine. No, it isn't. Don't believe me? Unplug your UPS from the wall and see how long your computer stays on. Oh, it went off in 8 seconds. That's because your battery's dead. Well, I thought it was supposed to tell me, and you trusted it? That's been the whole point of this video. The numbers you're seeing on your screen are not necessarily accurate or truthful, and you're believing them as though they were fact. Maybe. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. Every time we add another app, every time we add another piece of hardware, there's one more thing we have to update, there's one more thing we have to maintain. If you can minimize that, you'll minimize your problems. If you absolutely have to have it, then you have to have it. There's no choice in the matter. But when you're making that choice, I want you to be aware, tomorrow's another day, and you're still going to have it. And the day after that, and the day after that, just give it time. So I just want you to think about it. Jim Kenny says, Uncle Carey, tell us what you really think. I love it. Yeah, I'm just talking to you like I talk to a customer. If a customer wants to pay me to maintain all of this unnecessary nonsense, I'm going to charge them. I'm happy to. But I'm a terrible businessman. And I'm going to make sure they know you don't need any of this stuff. If you need it, you need it. If you don't need it and you just want it, I'm paid the same. Just because you're not paying me in this video doesn't mean I'm giving you different advice than I would give to a paying client. The difference is I'm not giving you a bill afterwards. Al says, the device manager you showed us about the ghost icons, I had a ton of them. I have removed them all. Thanks, I didn't know you could remove them. Most people don't even know they're there. And after you remove them, I hope you've restarted the computer. Highly recommend. As soon as you're done, immediately restart the computer. Andy said, I wish I had another laptop to compare. I wish you did too, because it's all living in your head, man. Without another laptop to compare, you are choosing to look a certain way, at a certain perspective, and you're really fighting for it. I can see it in the way you're writing. You really want to believe this. That's okay, you're not hurting anybody. But without any evidence to it, even with the evidence, I mean, how much do you think you're getting in return for that investment? If your battery, I mean, just out of curiosity, how long do you think your battery would last? If you were just a regular laptop buyer like everybody else, when does everybody else typically need to replace their battery? And by doing what you're claiming you want to do, how much more time do you think, in your mind, I'm just curious, you're getting because you're doing that? So if the average person needs so much time before a battery needs to be replaced in their laptop, and you're not the average person because you know better and you're buying things they wouldn't buy and you're putting on apps they wouldn't put on, in your mind, how much longer of battery life do you foresee you're going to get? Because you can't change the chemical compound of the battery. You understand that, right? And then my question for you is it worth it? If everything you foresee becomes reality, and the average person's laptop battery will last 4 years, and you get 4 years and 6 months, or maybe you get 5 years, was it worth it? I mean, only you can say yes or no. I can't tell you if it is or isn't. And that's assuming everything you foresee is true. If everything is true and it's a best case scenario, and the best case scenario is extended battery life, and that best case scenario is an additional 12 months. Really? Really? Okay, I mean, to each their own. The sad part is, and this is the part that I hope you're sitting down for, is it possible that because you're doing that to your battery dies before the average laptop owner's battery dies who isn't doing it? Just to add insult to injury. You do know that is also an equal outcome. It's equally likely that you actually kill your battery sooner because you did it that way, right? Just because people say things online is not representative of the battery you have, the way it's charging, and how you use it. So you and I can conduct the same test and get completely different results. There's not a universal truth here. And because of that, I would have a hard time justifying it, but I'm doing this for a living. I'm not doing it for fun. I mean, I enjoy it, don't get me wrong, but I'm not like, hey, I wonder what happens if I push the red button. Because if it sets off the fire alarm and the sprinklers go off and all the computer equipment gets wet and all has to be replaced and the company has to shut down while the carpets are dried and the desks are cleaned and the mold remediation takes place because I did something stupid, what are the odds I'm going to ever work there again? And what are the odds I'm going to find myself in court to cover the cost of that company? Because I wanted to know what the red button did. It's your red button, have at it. Andy says maybe a couple of years. Well, Andy, I want you to think this out loud. I want you to hear yourself. If the average laptop battery can last 4 years, a couple is 50%. Do you honestly believe that you can have a laptop battery last 6 years and still maintain a full or a higher end charge? And if that were true, why wouldn't manufacturers already be doing that? You say, well, they want to make more money. Wouldn't you make more money if you could tell your potential customers that your battery lasts longer than your competitors? I mean, that's often a sales point laptop manufacturers make, is how many hours the laptop can be on before it's charged. And if there's any laptop manufacturer that's using a different battery technology, then they would have a different expected lifespan. But they're all using the same exact battery technology, oftentimes coming from the same factory. So how is it possible that you can get more life out of the battery that somebody else has by simply downloading an app and get 50%, 50? Maybe you're right. It sounds absurd. It's too big of a difference. It doesn't make any sense, man. But there's a lot of things in the world that don't make sense to me. So you try it. You let me know how it works out. I'm very curious if you're going to go through with that. And we'll find out in 4 to 6 years if that was all worth it. In the meantime, when you do buy something very expensive, such as the Tesla or, you know, an expensive laptop, my Sony Galaxy Book 3 has smart charge on it. And you know what? I don't care, because it's pretty much plugged in. I don't travel with it. And when I do travel with it, regardless, I still have to plug it in to charge the battery anyway. So I don't care. I mean, the battery fails and I have to, you know, some computers, when the batteries fail, they won't start anymore. And you have to change the battery. And others, you'd have to travel a lot with the laptop, I think, be running it on battery a lot. If you don't run it on the battery a lot, then who cares? If the battery lasts 2 years or 4 years or 6 years, I'm still plugging the laptop in, aren't I? I don't understand why it would be important to extend the life of the battery if I'm not even using the battery, or I'm using it so sparingly that I'm worried about that being a problem. And if I do travel a lot with the laptop and I'm constantly on the battery, then this is a problem that solves itself through the way I use it. So it is a problem or it isn't. If you're not using the laptop on battery, who cares about the battery? If you are using the laptop on the battery, then you're naturally, through that use of battery, alternating between plugs, you're naturally extending the battery life as intended. So, and that would matter to you if you continue to travel with the laptop and keep it mobile. Otherwise, you're not even using it mobile, it sounds like, or so sparingly, who cares? But I'm just trying to put some critical thinking into this. It's like people that drive a four-wheel drive vehicle, but they never drive it off-road. Why do you own it? I got a Land Rover, a luxury four-wheel drive off-road vehicle. Oh, you drive off-road? Oh God, no, it's too expensive to drive it off-road. I mostly use it to go to the grocery store and drop the kids off at school. You mean it's all-wheel drive, so you can drive in the snow and the rain? No, four-wheel drive. So like for climbing and tough terrain, yeah. And you paid for that? It's 20 grand more. Have you used it? I can. That's not my question. Oh gosh. I just cracked myself up. Bill, Big Game James says, Carey, thanks for telling us about the portable Windows 11 optimizer. I didn't even know it was for sale. I will be investing in you. Thank you, big game James. Appreciate your support. Andy says $12 is cheap insurance against battery damage. Why do you think, here's my question, Andy. What is going on in your mind that makes you so certain you're not causing battery damage with this insurance? Does that thought ever occur to you that you're actually causing harm to your battery? Are you so convinced that there is evidence on the battery you have and the laptop you have that putting that app and that smart cable on it will not damage your battery? I'd like to see it. You are opening up Pandora's box where you only assume the good. Like for some reason you seem to believe, regardless of fact, that this will either make no difference or make it better. But the idea that it could make it worse and cause you problems, whether it's app problems, smart plug problems, or battery issues, those are off the table in your mind for some reason. I'm just asking if you're aware you could be going the wrong way. There's only one way to know, right? And that's to do it. So let us know. I'm curious. What I can tell you is if you never go down that road to begin with, then you can remove all the negative. But if you are going to go down that road, ignoring the negative doesn't make the negative go away. It must be considered as an equal opportunity consequence. Because the batteries, the laptop, the app, the smart plug, you're putting in a bunch of points here that you got a lot of faith in without any experience. You're just basing it off information online. I cannot strongly advise enough that you believe this nonsense. There is I understand why you want to believe it. I get it. I totally get it. And there's no harm that affects anybody but you if you want to go down that path. But if this were really a thing, if this were really like an important thing that really mattered, it would already be done. I can't imagine the people selling the app and the smart plug adapter are doing that because they care about you. They care about your battery. They're motivated, and your goal should be to find out why. What's really going on? And again, I would strongly encourage you to talk to Nemo and see what they say about it. Sometimes people only want to hear what they want to hear, but it doesn't make a difference to me. I'm just giving you some advice and hoping that you'll take the emotion out of it and just look at the facts. And nothing will speak better than experience. So if you decide to go through with it, I'd love to hear, when it's all said and done, if it was worth it. It's just not solving any problems I deal with as a professional. You're not doing anything to prevent a problem that I would advise to my customers. And that's all I can tell you honestly. I would tell customers you're wasting time and money on that. But it's my opinion. And you asked. All right? I just think it's a hobbyist thing. Not practical, but maybe I'm wrong. I've been wrong before. Just the idea that you just don't seem to consider you could be damaging your battery. Paying $12 to damage your battery and make it die sooner doesn't seem to be a thought you have. And that's what's worrying me, quite frankly. But it's yours. It's your money. It's your battery. And, it'll be what it'll be regardless of what I or anybody else thinks, right? Andy said, it is a fact that charging a lithium battery continuously at 100% does damage to the battery. Every time you drive your car, you're damaging your car. I mean, if you want to get into this, really, every time the wheels spin, you're taking a little bit of rubber off of those wheels. Every time you press the brakes, you're wearing down the brake pads. That is the design. That's what it's supposed to do to work. People go, well, what I found is if I drag rocks behind my car, I don't have to use the brakes as often. Okay, I mean, the rocks are free, and I just tie them up with a rope. And as long as I don't stop too quickly, where the rocks then slam into the back of the car, then it benefits me. Otherwise, it causes a lot of damage, and I have to put a lot of effort in. How is everybody else with a laptop not having battery issues? How are you solving any problem that everybody's having? That's just weird to me, man. I'm just saying, that's weird. There's not an epidemic of bad batteries because they're being charged to 100%. Give it time, that battery's going to die anyway. If you keep a battery at 0% and don't charge it for a long time, you also damage the battery. If you keep smart plugging it to 80%, you're going to end up with a battery that only has 80% of capacity over enough time. That's how it works. Now, granted, you know, they say lithium-ion batteries don't have memory like NiCad. They still do have memory. It's not like NiCad. It takes longer. But if you keep charging at 80%, then you'll never be able to get past 80% if you do that long enough. You will have artificially created yourself a limited capacity battery. People see what they want to see and they hear what they want to hear. But if you go through the effort of Googling what you don't want to hear, you're going to find out what you don't want to know. But if you keep Googling information that tells you all the benefits, then all it's going to show you is links for you to click on that tell you what you want to hear. So you need to search for what you don't want to hear. Then you can have all the information. Bill Stott said the temperature was below freezing this morning when I woke up here in New Jersey. Geez, you know how hot it is in Phoenix right now? I think we're going to get a little bit cooler next week, but my phone says, oh, this phone I always charge to 100%, by the way. This is an S24. It's over 2 years old. Where's my bad battery? I don't get it. And I fast charge it every time. I don't use the magnetic charger. I plug it into a high wattage, high speed charger. The worst thing you can possibly do for your battery. Phone works great. I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, let's see. I guess what I'm saying is by the time that would cause a problem, I'd probably have a new phone anyway. Been 2 years. I have all day battery life. Always have. I don't know what to say. Temperature, 91 degrees Fahrenheit. It's interesting when you look at the weather map of the United States. It's like there's this big red heat wave coming in off the West Coast up to about the middle of the country. And then it drops off right after like Oklahoma and down into Texas. And then the red turns to blue. So here it's on fire. And over here, it's ice cold. It's very strange because it sounds like being somewhere in the middle would be pretty good, except that's probably relating to storms where the hot and the cold get together and then you get rain. I don't know. It's very unusual for our temps. This month, we're breaking records. It's never been this hot in March before. We were, I think, over 10 days over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. It's never, ever happened in the history of recorded temperatures in Phoenix. But it's also true in most of the southwestern states. We're seeing hotter, record-breaking temps right now. It's not just Phoenix. I guess what I'm saying is I'm kind of jealous that it's so cold in New Jersey. I wish I could step out of the oven and go to the walk-in. You know what I mean? So sick of it. I've been out here too long. Bikeman said I shouldn't set my newer gaming laptop to 80% charge level. I've been doing that for the last few weeks myself. I think the amount of charge that you wish to charge your laptop up to is up to you. If you have an expensive enough laptop that has a built-in battery monitor, it's typically in your BIOS and sometimes from the manufacturer's software. They'll have their recommendations and you should ask them. I think it's a good idea to vary your battery. Don't let it stay depleted too long. Don't always charge it up all the time. Don't always charge it to 50%. Don't always do anything over and over. There are long-term consequences that are just as equally bad as anything else that you're doing. If I always charge to 100%, there's going to be consequences. Here's a question. I was watching a food review, and they were reviewing, and they were giving things a scale of 1 to 10. Now, just hear me out. And the people reviewing all liked this item. That was their favorite. 2 of the people said, I give it a 10 out of 10. The third person said, I don't believe in giving out 10s. So this is a 9. Well, then why is 10 an option if it's not an option? Why would you say it's a scale of 9 to 10 and you never give out 10s? So it's a scale of 1 to 9. Oh, but then you wouldn't give out 9s? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. It's no less dumb than giving it an 11 on a scale of 1 to 10. If it's a scale of 1 to 10, you cannot get to 11. I don't give out 10s. Then 10 shouldn't be something you are potentially giving out. You can't say on a scale of 1 to 10 it's a 10. You don't believe in 10s, so for you it's a scale of 1 to 9. Just be honest. Listen to yourself. That's what I'm thinking when I'm watching this content. I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's a moron. I don't give out 10s. It was your idea. It's your scale. Where else do we do this in life? I'm just curious. Like, I've got a battery, and my battery can run for 10 hours. But what I want to do is charge it so it can only run for 8 hours. That way my battery can last longer. Well, last I checked, 8 hours is less than 10 hours. That means your battery's running less. No, I don't mean run longer like that. I mean like the length of time before the battery goes bad. So if you use the battery less, it will last longer. Yeah, okay. So you should take your i9 CPU and drop it by 20% of its frequency so you don't generate as much heat or degradation, so your CPU will last longer. Yeah, well then you could have bought an i7 and saved the money. Why did you buy something and then not use it? Because I want it to last longer. So you want something you don't use to last longer so you can in the future still not use it? What? If you're not using it, how does it last longer? I got a lot of stuff sitting in a closet for a few decades. Boy, that stuff must be really must be great. It hasn't deteriorated with time at all. Just having it sit there and not using it didn't cause any deterioration. The fabric is still good in the old 30-year-old t-shirts. Just because I don't wear them anymore doesn't mean they've suddenly faded and become brittle. Of course it does. So, yes, if you use something less, it will last longer for you to continue to not use it. Got it. Maybe it's me. That sounds silly, but what do I know? Shane Perkins said, my take on the no 10s on a scale of 1 to 10 is saying there's always room for improvement. Well, Here's my view on that. If there's always room for improvement, then you go the other way. You say, this is a scale, like, let's say this review. 2 of the reviewers said it was a 10. 1 said it was a 9, and he never gives out 10s. So he wasn't working on a scale of 10. He was working on a scale of 9. And if you say, again, critical thinking, in a science laboratory with people doing math, this is not how math works. No one in the scientific community will say, we're going to just ballpark this as close enough. If it's scientific, it's precision. So you don't offer a 10 and then not give a 10. You can say, this is a 10 today, and if it improves, it'll be a 10 tomorrow. We're not dealing with what ifs. We're dealing with what we know. So when we're tasting something and we really like it, we're not saying this couldn't be better, but to the best of our knowledge and experience at this time of the rating, this is the best one we've had. That's what it's for. It's not it's not there to, like, you know, put you up in a courtroom and hold you to your rating. It's there to advise your viewers that this was the best one you had. And if you're saying the best one you had is a 9, that implies you've already had something better. But if you're saying there cannot be anything better, then there's no such thing as a 10. So offering the 10 is a lie. It's a complete lie, because you were never going to give a 10, and it was disingenuous, and it was misinformation to tell your audience that you're never going to give a 10, but you're going to give a scale of 1 to 10. It would be honest for you to say you're on a scale of 1 to 9. When you have better at some point, or your taste buds change, it's also possible that what you gave a 6 2 years ago, your tastes have changed, and now you'll give it a 9 today. It's how it tastes to you, what your personal values are. You can't really prove that in a court of law. Why are you being so sketchy with your answers, like, you know, they're going to behead you or something? It's just be honest. Why would you be dishonest and then justify lying? Don't lie. Then you don't have to worry about justifying. Don't tell me it's a scale of 1 to 10 and then say you can never have a 10. That's a lie. That's a scale of 1 to 9. Lying to me and then telling me why you're lying to me isn't giving you any respect from, I don't respect that. You're playing a game with words and you're being disingenuous. That's how I choose to see it. There can be more than one 10. It's not like you're rating and you're saying, well, this can be the only 10. There's many things you might like. And it may be differences so subtle that once you hit 10, anything above and beyond that doesn't matter. And then when you have a bunch of 10s laid out, then you can rate again on a 1 to 10, with 10 being the normal across the table, compared only to other 10s. Maybe you take it 1 to 5 just to help it out. How does, like, if I had all 5 of these in front of me, all of the 10 rated meals, and I compare them to each other, a lot of times they can't be compared. How are we comparing pasta to roast turkey or something? They're different. So for what that is, that's a 10. So now you'd have to say, okay, well, these are all pastas. They're all the same dish, and they're all 10s, and they're all different, but they're all 10s. Then you could go, okay, well, is this 10 better than that 10? And I think in most cases, people will say, no, they're all 10s. Going 10.1 or 9.9, seriously, it's such an insignificant difference. The point is made. But again, I feel pretty sternly about it because I'm sensitive to the marketing and psychological manipulation that occurs in marketing. And when marketing lies, it's a lie. And when a content creator lies, it's still a lie. And if they want to tell you why they're lying, okay, they can sleep at night because they've convinced themselves it's okay to lie. I'm not okay with it. You're not convincing me. Lying to an audience for any reason is acceptable. But those are my values. You have yours. See how we get to know each other. Gary Tatum said I work on a scale of 1 to 1,000, but I'm only allowed to give out prime numbers. Hey, why not? That sounds valid. All right. All right. Well, with that, I think it's an interesting discussion to have. Whether we're talking about the maintenance that you can do for free on your machine that most other people won't talk about. Whether we're talking about batteries and perceptions versus reality. A lot of this has that theme of perceptions versus reality. And everybody's got perceptions and everybody's got reality, but not everybody tells them apart. And you can't argue with reality. There's no arguing with experience. Nobody can tell you you didn't experience something that you did experience. But if you've never experienced it, you shouldn't be so confident because you're just perceiving it that way. Just to be honest with yourself and say, yeah, well, I don't know. I really don't know. Here's what I think the outcome's going to be. But until I actually do it, nobody has a crystal ball and can predict what your outcome's going to be. And I encourage that open-mindedness to the possibilities, which may be not what you were expecting. I've been in this business long enough, and I've been blindsided enough times that I am not so quick to make judgments, and I am very quick to make my own self-corrections when I do and say, hey guys, I got this completely wrong. I was way off. I think I've done this enough on this channel that you'd think, hasn't he learned by now? But it's still sort of ingrained in me sometimes where I'm like, oh yeah, this is an easy problem. And then I get in there and 2 hours later, I'm still not fixing it. And it's still not fixed. And I'm like, okay, well, I definitely had the wrong perception versus the reality of actually doing the work was very different. And it wasn't what I thought it was. So that's why we're always interested in hearing about your experiences. And your experiences are real, and nobody can deny them. But what your perceptions are entirely up to you. And you're welcome to make predictions. You're welcome to say, I'm going to eat there, but I'm not going to like it. You might be right. But until you eat there, and then can specify what it is you didn't like about it, it's not really useful until you get some experience and you can then explain it. Well, I just read Yelp reviews, and based on that, I'm probably not going to like it. Well, you might be right. Or maybe you aren't. So if you go eat there, you might find yourself agreeing with those Yelp reviews, or you might think everybody who left a Yelp review must have ate somewhere else, because you could have a new favorite place. It's just as likely. So always, always about experience. And if you have experience that you want to share with us about computers and technology, we want to hear about it. Research online is a complete waste of time unless you know the actual resources are trustworthy and apply to you in your scenario, which is your call. But again, my customers aren't guinea pigs. If they are, they do so knowingly and willingly, voluntarily, if we have to try something because we don't know the answer. And the only way we find the answer sometimes is by giving it enough time. And so sometimes you just need to give it time, combined with experience, to see what your outcome is. And it doesn't mean everybody else will experience the exact same outcome either. But it matters to you what your experience was. And he said, as usual, learn stuff today, ghost devices. Yeah, those ghost devices. There are utilities, by the way, that can help you just scan them, remove them all in 1-2 clicks. It's quick and sloppy. I still prefer to go through one by one. If you like, geez, I have a whole bunch of them. Well, that's because you've been plugging in a lot of stuff and you've never checked it before. Check it once every 6 months and it won't be such a burden. The idea to download a utility to clear it out because you're too lazy to click at each one, you're the one who put them in. So how can you complain about it when you're the one who did it? So to me, I would not download a third-party utility to clear those out for me. I would just, I made the mess. I'm not paying somebody else or hiring, a third party to come clean up my mess. I'm responsible. I made the mess. I will clean up my mess, and I'll make sure I won't let it get that bad. If I don't punish myself for it, I'm probably just going to do it again. So then I'm not growing as a person by being lazy. But it is an option if you Google it and you want to go that way. I'm not telling you not to. I don't do that. Maybe my attitude will change on it someday, but you just do it once. And if it's really, really bad, don't let it get that bad again. That's all. And if you try that and you do notice a difference in performance or a difference in the computer, for better or for worse, let us know from your experience. We'd love to hear from you. The way you can reach us is through our email address, which I will put right up here on the screen. And thank you to Mara, our channel administrator, for all the work she does in getting all of our video description and thumbnails. She answers most of the correspondence unless it needs to come to me for some reason. And then she brings it to my attention. She also handles, working with manufacturers to get us product to test. We have some things coming. Once again, we have no idea when they're going to get here. What else did I want to tell you about? Thanks to our friends at VIP-URCDKEYs for continuing this offer to our audience and supporting us here. Thank you to all the members who also support us here. We don't always agree on things, and that's okay. That's what makes the world go round. We have our experiences, and we are here to share those, not to just preach to a choir. This isn't a church. So if you come here and you want all the facets of all the different perspectives, I think it's good to have an open mind and decide what path is right for you. And I go a little bit further in explaining the justification, how I got to that logic, but it may not be something you agree with regardless. My logic may not be your logic. But hopefully, we respect each other's disagreement and, in fact, appreciate it because it keeps these videos from being boring. If everything I said you just nodded your head to, what's the point? It'd be like playing a video game where you just walk your little character across the screen with no obstacles and no enemies. How do you play? You just move the joystick to the right. And then what? That's it. That's a game? Yeah. Well, where's the fun in that? There's no challenge. Yeah, but you always win. It's effortless. Is that a world you want to live in? Because I don't. So I appreciate our conversations regardless. And I appreciate everybody who chose to participate with us, and of course all the members that support us here, so we can continue to be an independent channel and be able to have these conversations without any corporate pushback or political pushback or any other nonsense that people like control like to have. I like to think everybody here has an equal voice. Whether or not I agree with it is irrelevant. Just fun to have the discussion. Otherwise, I wouldn't do the videos live. Right? If I didn't respect what you had to say, I'd just prevent you from talking to me. Gee, is that what those tech channels are doing? Anyway, I think that'll wrap it up for today. I hope you've enjoyed whatever Sunday you've had and whatever's left of it. It's back to work tomorrow. We will be back live for members only tomorrow, as always. And those videos are for members only. That's live interaction and content that is only for the members that make it possible for us to even have this video today. That's their reward for supporting us. And there's always room for more members. The more we can be financed by our viewers, the more different items we can review and purchase instead of hoping on the good graces of a company to send us something. But we're just trying to find a balance in all of it. Sometimes companies send us stuff. Sometimes we buy stuff. The option to buy stuff wouldn't even be there without all those people you see in green, just telling you. And we thank each and every one of you, green or otherwise, for just hanging out and being a part of the show. We love having you here. We hope you'll join us again on, if you're not green, on our next public video, which is scheduled currently for Friday. It may be possible that other content will become available, but at this time, there's nothing on the schedule until Friday, apart from the members only video tomorrow. So always stay subscribed and notified, because sometimes last minute interviews or opportunities or news items happen that I want to immediately go live about, but are not currently on the schedule. And that's going to wrap it up. Thank you again for watching. We'll see all the members tomorrow at 1 o'clock Pacific time, as always. We look forward to seeing you then. Till then, bye for now.